Welcome back to Fear and Beer, a Halloween Horror Nights podcast. Join us as we venture year-round into the fog.
Make sure you give us a like and a follow on your podcast platform of choice. Also, be sure to check out our YouTube page where we upload every episode in its video format, and maybe a few other surprises as well.
Make sure you're following us on social media to keep up to date with our newest haunted content.
I'm Nick.
I'm Seamus.
I'm Jamie.
Well, would you look at that? We are here, opening day of HHN35. I can't believe it. What a whirlwind. What a podathon. Thank you for sticking with us. And wouldn't you know it, we have some friends with us today. It is not just me, Seamus, and Jamie talking HHN35. We said, you know what? We've done enough talking during this podathon. We're going to bring in some other folks. We're going to give the reins out to everybody else and force them to do the heavy lifting. No, I'm just kidding. We are going, of course, through the ultimate mega HHN podcast hype list. What this is, it's an aggregated list of all of the podcasts represented on this episode. We have all of the rankings. We smushed all the numbers. We averaged it out, and we have one list amongst all of us. And we're going to go through those. Well, actually, we have two lists. We have one for houses and one for the zones, the streets, and the shows. We smashed it all together. But before we get into all of that, Seamus, Jamie, hello. We made it to the end of the podathon somehow, some way.
I'm alive.
We absolutely made it.
We did somehow.
The end is here.
Yes.
To a beautiful beginning.
Yes, I know. Well, yeah, it feels like we've already done the whole workload. It's time to actually pay it off and enjoy the fog.
Exactly.
We are, again, joined by our friends, HHN35, Duff and Jess. Thank you so much for jumping in and helping us out with this.
Yeah, thanks for having us. This is a tradition that must go on. So happy to be back for it. Happy to be mad at some of you and have a lot of angry debates about where you guys placed shit. So can't wait.
I'm ready to fight.
That's, I was going to say, we'll kind of put our dukes down. We're not going to bring up any crazy topics. We don't need to talk about, Fortnite or HHN with no Express this year or anything like that. It's going to be a very fun-filled, everybody's loving it. No, that's not going to happen. Not with
You
this
don't want me
group.
to bring up Obsession or anything like that?
I was going to say, Nikki,
about
Obsession. I actually ranked that number 1 on my list, so sorry about that. We are joined by the duo of Stay and Scream. We have Brady and Tim hopping on this call with us tonight. Thank you, and hello. Gentlemen.
Hello. How's it going? Well, hold on. Let's start this off correctly, right? If we're on Fear and Beer.
Oh, I'm here for it. Oh,
yeah, there it is. So nothing really fancy, but this is from where I am from in the Hudson Valley of New York, but a little Angry Orchard, but I have the cinnamon apple. So cheers to everybody.
A little bit different. I like
I've
it.
never had the cinnamon apple.
Brady, you just
it's
have
so good.
You have a bottle of whiskey over there, I think, right?
I'm
He's double fisting too.
Tall Boy Diet Coke.
Hell yes.
Crispy DC. Classic.
Absolutely.
Nothing like it. And I believe the other two, the other half of the pod is out on vacationing somewhere, enjoying their time.
Work and vacation. So
Nice.
yeah.
I got to find me one of those, that's for sure.
What, a vacation or a job?
Well, I'm not going to say no to either at this point. And then last but absolutely not least, we dug them up. We went to the actual catacombs and we dug the catacombs of Halloween Horror Nights back out. This is an episode that was famously on their feed. We were gracious enough to be invited multiple times. And I do have to say, this podcast style, this episode was the most requested amongst people that were listening to us, saying, we want the catacombs list. We want everybody together. We want to hear the thoughts. And it's just truly a testament to how much you've impacted the community. So we could not do this without you guys. So Hunter and Matt, thank you for joining us. And I'm excited.
Of course. Yeah. Thanks for having us. I would hate to miss this. I'm glad I'm not.
Yeah, I'm excited that it's back, and I just want to give credit to Matt for kicking off this whole HHN podcast thing. None of us would really be here without Catacombs. So, Matt, kudos to you, dude. I don't have a drink. I have like a 7-Eleven cup of water I could toast to you. But
it's like I can't help but think of Hunter when I have a Sam Adams Oktoberfest, the night we drank more than our fair share before going over to Halloween Horror Nights one evening.
I
remember the event. happening. That's about as much as I remember that night.
Yeah, and this is a fun one because as Hunter had said, yes, the Catacombs really birthed this wild world that we're all now very much a part of, and selfishly, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this was just so I could hear your thoughts on these things before, because I'm going back and I'm like, how many times can I listen to the HHN31 roundtable? How many times? A couple more times? Okay, I will. But I promise after this, it's going to be like, I'm Pepper Potts and you're Iron Man at Endgame. I will finally let you rest.
Well, yeah, we had to give a shout out to Ozzy recently on the Catacombs feed. That was kind of got this going. So hey, shout out.
I was tricked. I was tricked on that episode. It was sold to me as an appearance on GGH, and next thing I know, I'm hosting it as a Catacombs episode.
I saw that pop up, and I was like, "There's hope."
You're all against me.
Pay your dues.
Just can't let them go. We just can't let it go. All right. Well, during our beer cracking a-thon, I did crack mine as well, and this is a fun one. This is All Hallows Treat. It's an Imperial Chocolate Peanut Butter Stout, and I figured this is the perfect beer for tonight because this is just such a treat. Me hanging out with all of my friends. A very selfish episode of myself because, like I said, I just wanted to do this for me. If people listen to it, I'm sure they will and they're going to love it. But this is a me episode. I'm giving one to me. I wanted to be here. I wanted to hang out with everybody. So again, thank you so much to joining us. And yeah, I really don't know where else to go to other than just jumping into this thing. I think we're ready to kind of get this ball rolling. So our first list, we are going to actually, you know what? Before we even jump into lists, I'm curious where everyone's thoughts are about the event as a whole. This, I don't, maybe I'm speaking for myself here, but this offseason kind of vanished. It was just like a blink of the eye and it was done. And Tim, you're nodding. I'm curious if you had similar thoughts where this felt different this year.
Yeah, much different. We're always like, okay, at the end of the event, we're like, oh man, it's going to be forever until we start talking about spec season and this, that, and the other thing. But it just popped up. And then all of a sudden it was just like all guns blazing. Everything's out. The only thing that's not out yet is we still waiting on that food menus. But we'll get to that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and I'm very excited. It's an anniversary year. So it seems very cohesive this year as well, loving the carnival theme. So yeah, I love it. But yeah, I agree with you. I think this just kind of like vanished real quick.
Yeah. Now, Matt, he did say the A word.
I just text Hunter.
He said the A word. All right. Should we just make like a definitive thing like right here, right now? What are we doing? Every 5 or every 10?
I totally get where it comes from. It just cracks me up that it's like, why 5 or 10? Every year is technically an anniversary, but I get it. It's I guess a minor pet peeve of mine. I don't get that upset, but I don't say it. I say milestone, but that's me.
Okay, yeah,
I understand. I understand what's meant by it. So it's all good. If you ever catch me saying it, I'll buy you a beer because I can't imagine I'll ever say
it. Jess, you had a pretty strong reaction to that topic as well. What are your thoughts on this?
I've been saying it, I feel like since last year when 34 was ending. I feel like after 30, we have to start doing like wedding anniversaries. So like it should be 50s, the next big one. I feel like it's just kind of like for fun at that point. I don't know. It's all for fun. This is all just, like a seasonal event we all go to at the end of the day. But I have been on my soapbox since the end of last season saying, I'm going to accept the anniversary. But I think it should be 50 should be the next big one after 30. And then after 50, it should be 75. I don't think 60, maybe 60, whatever you could do. What is that, diamond or whatever? But like, that's how I feel about it. I feel like every 5 is just kind of silly. But I'm going to revel in it this year anyways. So
and diamonds are forever. So yeah, they definitely, I don't want to say force it down our throat, right? But like they're treating it very much as we'll go milestone on this episode so nobody has to buy Matt any beers, but it does. That's when they roll out the hits, if you will. We got Jack, we got Oddfellow, we got HR. It's very much on their mind as well. Is this something like Brady? Is this something that maybe we get to the next off milestone year, would it really affect you too much if it wasn't like HHN greatest hits? If they actually just treated it kind of like a 26 or a 27, maybe there's one callback or something.
Not at all. I think, this is probably a pretty polarizing thing. I think there's a lot of people that are like, give me the icons every 5 years. I always want to see them. And then I think there's the like, hey, put the icons to rest. Like every 5 years we go back to the well and it's like, what, another icons compilation? What's it going to be? For me personally, I don't care, I think maybe if we moved to every 10, that would make it feel a little more special rather than this every 5 thing. But I don't know. We probably need to stop making every 5th year like this is the thing, this is the big thing. I would rather just a more consistent across the board event.
Yeah, I agree. Now, Duff, this was also a little bit of a weird off season where, we had rumors during last year.
Yep.
Yeah,
for sure.
Does that affect like you thinking about the event at all? Because it's like, I like not waiting that long for certain things, right? Like I don't want to know necessarily rumors in October or November, December. Even that is like, all right, we just finished it. Let's like take a little breather. I know the people want to talk about stuff, but like, does it being strung along so long like affect the hype at all for you?
No, I don't think so. I think it actually, if anything, helps a little bit. Because I go back to like the last off season, we were coming off a year that wasn't the best one they've ever had. So I was a little down on the event. We were getting some rumors that weren't super exciting early on, so not that I wasn't interested or excited for the event to come around in 9-10 months, whatever it may have been, but the excitement was lower. So having some rumored properties to be excited about this year and coming off a good year last year, it just kind of kept me excited for the event nonstop. And I never had that period where I was like, I just don't want to think about HHN for a while, which is kind of important when you have a podcast where you talk about it year round. So very helpful. And I can't relate on the whole, this was a quick off-season thing. It felt very long to me. So
really? Okay.
I don't know. We're in different like time loops here, I guess, because I'm ready for it to start. It took forever.
No, I'm definitely ready, but I really just, especially the last like 3 months, I think really once like Mardi Gras wraps up, for me, it kind of just zooms by pretty quick. Now, Hunter, I saw you kind of nodding and agreeing as well. I was curious your thoughts on that, but also something else that we've discussed on Fear and Beer. Spec season and rumor season this year felt very, very on the nose. Like it seemed like we really didn't miss all that much. Is that something you enjoy? Like, do you want to have a good, clean idea, or do you enjoy that kind of guessing game for months of like, well, this could be this, it could be that?
Frankly, I think spec season has become a little oversaturated. I'm not even a little oversaturated. I think that just with everybody having a speculation map at this point, it feels like it has kind of taken away some of my excitement for it. It's something that you can choose to interact with, but me, I'm off of Twitter now. I'm on Instagram less, but even on Facebook, things just show up in the algorithm. So it's pretty much unavoidable where it's this spec map is available, this spec map is available, and that's fine. I get it. People love having the insider information, but for me, it's always one of those things where the earlier it shows up, I'm like, it doesn't matter. Things can get canceled. Things can be changed. Who knows what's ultimately going to happen on this list? One of the big concepts that I was very excited for, you guys all know this, I love Ghost Town. I love Lightning Gulch. That's one of my favorite houses of all time. It's usually my favorite, depending on how I'm feeling that day. And I was very excited for this pulpy Cowboys versus Aliens house. And while I'm still very excited for Invasion, sometimes I think these speculation, little hearsay things build up ideas of something that you're really excited for that aren't even going to happen. And we're going to talk about it. Matt and I just did a whole breakdown with our friend Gary about this Ozzy Osbourne house. That was something that was pretty much writing out the entire spec season. And I was like, oh my God, if this is the thing that gets canceled or changed, I am going to be so upset. So it's one of those things I personally wish we would just chill out a little bit on speculation season, maybe hit that up towards kind of spring break time. I really don't need to know about it in January. But hey, it is what it is. I mean, it speaks to the popularity of the event. And if you're seeking it, it's out there. And yeah, it just depends on how you want it. I just kind of wish I wasn't constantly enveloped in it, even if I'm not looking for it.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned Invasion because like Liz is not here, but I couldn't believe when I saw her list that she put it at 10. That's just absolutely absurd. She unfortunately can't defend herself, so I can just say whatever I want about her rankings. No, the numbers are locked in there, and I guess really the only other kind of question, I guess, over to maybe a mixture of Jess and Jamie, because you two are at the parks. Oh, you know what, Brady as well. Let's get a little representation of the three of you. You guys are at the parks like probably the most, getting all these updates. Now, the last couple years, I've been more open to going and like seeing the props and stuff, but for a while I was very anti that. I wanted to like wait. I wanted to see it like in show lights. Like I would almost not be found at Universal, at least studios, for once they started putting stuff out. You can go in any order, but I'm just curious, like, does that play into your like thoughts at all when you're getting hyped for zones versus like some has stuff out, some doesn't? I'm curious where that lands for you, if seeing more helps or hurts.
Personally, I like seeing everything, especially during the daytime, because I like kind of getting to get a peek at everything that you wouldn't really get to see at nighttime and with the show lights and stuff like that, and just kind of spotting for little Easter eggs. But like you said, I feel like I know you went a little bit more last year than I did for like construction updates and whatnot. And this year I've been able to go quite a bit, which is nice. But I feel like seeing everything kind of come together too has just been like, I feel like these scare zones like had nothing in them and now they're just full of stuff. I went a day or two ago and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe like everything's just really coming together. And I do feel like kind of going and seeing everything excites me more than it doesn't. I like a little sneak peek. I don't mind. I always liked going to see the scare zone stuff ahead of time.
I was always the person that like when I wasn't a local, the house walkthroughs did not spoil anything for me because I have the memory of a goldfish. So like it takes me a couple weeks to like get desensitized even now with going every night. Yeah. So like for me, I like same like Jamie, I like seeing all of the updates and I like seeing the construction of it and kind of like how things get built. And what was so interesting this year is a lot of it got built backstage and then just put out overnight. It wasn't like a progression. We're seeing the progression more now as they're like set dressing everything. And I think that was more exciting because every day it was like, what's going to be out? Sometimes it was nothing. And you used to know the off days and now you kind of don't anymore. So like, I'm just there. And then like a lot of announcements were happening in the 2 weeks I was off. So it was great. It excites me more, honestly. I'm not the one that's going to be spoiled, honestly. So
yeah, totally agree with everything they've said. I think the only thing no one touched on that you asked, Nick, was whether or not it affected hype. For me, it definitely does. I feel like my list of being able to properly rank my hype for the scare zones is fully affected by seeing some of these, pre-event, like we go off the little description they give us, but also going to the parks once a week, I'm able to go see like, oh, I already know I'm going to like this one better thematically.
Yeah. I feel like I kind of fell, and maybe we all fell into that trap to an extent with Jungle of Doom. I remember seeing all the props and being like, wow, this is like, God, I can't wait. Same thing with like Scarecrow when they started building the structure. And then it just kind of like, maybe it didn't execute as well or as what they thought. So I honestly, like, I'm at the point now where sometimes when I see a lot of stuff, it almost makes me nervous, where I'm like, oh, I've been down this road before. I've been hurt before. Cue the Johnny Cash, like it's going to happen. So that's, it's interesting to hear people's topics on that, because I used to really be like, I don't want to see anything, which once you step into the HHN podcast world, that becomes like an impossibility. So I knew that was just going to be a short-lived kind of mindset for myself. So, but yeah, no, I think overall, I think we can just safely say we're just excited to be here back in the fog. So let's now actually dive into our list. So our first list is all of our zones, our streets, and our shows mashed up, ranked 1 through 8. Like I said, I think at the top, I think this just makes a little bit more of a fun conversation piece to see how much you're looking forward to something. Because when you compare zones and shows and street experiences, yes, they are very different things, but at the end of the day, hype is just what you're excited for. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a one-for-one comparison. And if you do hear maybe myself, Seamus, or Jamie talking a little bit less, it's because we are coming off of our hype list. So I do want to hear everybody else's opinions. I will call to us on times when I see fit, but I really do want to get everybody else's thoughts in here. So we're going to kick this list off at number 8. And wouldn't you know it, a street experience has ended up at the last spot. Now, I think I can speak for just about everyone and say that just because something's in the last spot doesn't mean we are not excited for it. Unfortunately, there has to be a something in the last spot. So at number 8 is the Mel's Die-In Zombies. Now, Hunter, you are the only person on this episode and second person on the list in general, alongside Ash, to have this at your 8 spot. Is there anything is this not something you vibe with? It's just such a kind of like little corner that it doesn't affect too much?
I just, there's not much to vibe with. It's a really cool set piece. I appreciate them for actually putting something there. I think if you are going to have a reduction in actual scare zones, we lost San Fran and to Club Horror as well. It's totally fine. It serves its purpose, but comparing it against something that is an actual detailed scare zone experience, they're not comparable. I really enjoyed them for what they were last year. I am curious what might change this year, but we'll see. But as it is, it's more of this would be the iTunes bonus track of Halloween Horror Nights along with Club Horror. I really can't give it any sort of additional boost above anything else.
Yeah. And it's funny, too, that you and Ash had it at 8. However, your counterpart over there, Matt, had it the highest out of anybody on the list at number 4.
Yeah, I'm surprised to hear his list.
Yeah, and you're not too far off from everybody else. There's a couple people that have it around the 5 spot, but you had it at 4. So was this just something, maybe it was because it was so new, it was like just such a welcomed addition?
Yeah, and I like having something there because ever since 25, when we had the big stage show, well, I guess we had Academy of Villains, ever since we had a stage show leaving that area, whatever year that was, that's kind of been just like a lull. It's like you get through the scare zone, don't really have anything, you move on to the next scare zone. So even though it's not full-blown scare zone, it's nice to carry the atmosphere into that as you're passing through to the next section.
Yeah, and that's what I love too, because if you ask anybody to pull up their camera roll of HHN, the Mel's Die-In sign is probably in there. It's been such like an iconic photo op for so long, and up until last year, it wasn't really utilized as well as it probably could have. So it shocks me that it did take them to 34 to what would be cool? Let's make like zombified burger hop, on roller skates. Like that's something that I could really vibe with. And then I know the Stay and Scream pod is kind of vibing a little bit with them too, because Tim and Brady, you both had this at your 5 spot. So Tim, again, kind of similar sentiment to Matt, where it's just like a very nice, welcome addition.
100%. To me, it's almost like a mini scare zone. I hung out in it a little bit last year and just watching them and interact and stuff. Totally awesome. And I love the old school zombie look. It's fantastic. And just like you said, they're on roller skates. Like, that's just fun.
Yes.
And obviously, and yes, I have it a higher than a bunch of other things.
I get that. Now, Duff and Jess, you both had this. You're like in lockstep. You had it right at 6, so 2 spots above this. It's kind of a weird comparison, right? Like, these are not full scare zones, but this is definitely more scare zone than Club Horror is. So I'm curious where, like, behind the scenes they decide to draw the line and be like, okay, this is a street experience, this is a scare zone. But do you hope that maybe there is a little bit of a change up this year, and what would you maybe hope to add to that?
Yeah, I definitely hope there's a change. The reason it even ends up as low as it does is because it looks like it's just going to be the same experience we had last year, which I liked it. I enjoyed it. But how hyped can I be about something returning exactly the same? We did get the same exact key art, indicating maybe not much to change, but Club Horror looks a little bit different. So, and that had the same key art, so you never know. So I'm really hoping that there's something new. Otherwise, hype-wise, I think it's going to fall like right where it does in the season. I know it's going to be a solid experience. Not going to blow me away or be anything new.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. I think that's more than enough time that we need to talk about the zombies skating around serving fries and burgers. So let's jump to what is probably going to be one of the first battles of the night. Coming in at the number 7 spot is going to be our first scare zone, and that is Fort Nightmares. Tim, you are officially part of Fear and Beer, my friend. You were with us in our attempt to drag this thing down to the bottom with an anchor.
Yep.
We had this at the bottom spot across the board. I'm going to at this point, everybody has heard Seamus's takes on this. So, Tim, I want to hear your take on this, and I do want to blame this on one person once you finish.
Okay, that's fair. So we did our hype list as well and talked about this a little bit. So listen, I have no action in Fortnite whatsoever. I couldn't care less about this. But with that said, I'm still excited to see this and see what they do. Because to me, this makes no sense to me on how this is a scare zone. This is a video game where there's just dancing and shooting and emotes and whatever, all over the place. It's just very, very odd. I'm not saying it's not going to work because obviously we don't know. We haven't seen it yet. But to me, I don't play this game. It does nothing for me. I'm still trying to figure out what they're going to put in this zone, who's going to be in this zone. At first it could have been cool, but then we kept thinking that how much money could it cost for them to put all of the people that there are skins for that are horror related into this zone. And I think that's going to be an issue. So obviously I don't think we're going to see Jason. We're not going to see any of that kind of thing in this zone. Obviously I'm very intrigued to see what they do, but I'm just not looking forward to it, if that makes sense, because it's just not.
It makes sense from our end.
It's not my thing. And like I said, when we first heard this rumor, I was like, no, there's no way this is coming. And then, during spec season, just like you said, everything's been almost like pretty much spot on, what was put out there. So here we are, Fort Nightmares. And I'm pretty sure my son over here is probably going to talk a little differently about it because, he does play this game. So
kind of, sort of. It was like, you're truly a member of the Fear and Beer family now at this point. This was like listening to Seamus talk. But Brady, yeah, you had this a little bit higher. You had it at 6. So not drastically higher, but as a Fortnitemarer, a Fort player, I don't know, whatever you are, can you shed some light on this? And then I have somebody that I know is just chomping at the bits to tune in and jump in and save the day for Fortnite. He's going to be the Fort White Nightmare.
Yeah, I have it a little bit higher on my list. I don't necessarily... Here's where I'm at, right? I have a feeling that the majority of you are probably in this position, minus the Fear and Beer crew. I will agree fully till I'm blue in the face that I don't necessarily think this makes sense, I think doing the horror adjacent thing, that one thing every year at Horror Nights, makes sense. You draw in that audience. I think this kind of steps a little bit past horror adjacent. I don't think it makes sense at all. However, as anything I've doubted at Horror Nights, I have this theme where the thing that I usually doubt the most is always something that they absolutely kill and execute super well. So I think for that reason alone, that's why it's a little higher on my list, is I just have faith that they're going to at least do it well. I would assume there's a lot on the line for them with how big Epic Games is. So that gives me hope.
Yeah. Well, as the Fear and Beer podcast, I hope you can start voting against or hoping that they get some better beers for us, and just don't put any extra pressure on that. Just make sure that you doubt the fact that they're going to bring Shipyard Pumpkinhead back, and maybe it'll actually happen for us.
Hey, I might have put it in 8th, but I at least said I was going to be optimistic about it and go through the scare zone. So, just saying, don't be throwing me in there. I try to keep an open mind.
I don't even have it at 8.
Seamus put it at 99999.
Just-
Is it
I
like
was gonna
off
say,
the
just
list? It
leave
didn't
it
even
off.
make it. He
I
just,
know,
he
right?
just omitted it.
What's Fortnite? What are you talking about? What is this? I've never heard
So-
of this before.
Hunter, you know I'm coming to you. I do want to, like I said, I had somebody to blame for something to coming.
Mhm.
I just re-listened to the beginning of the HHN31 mega hype list crossover episode. That was my first appearance on Catacombs. And you referred to the episode as a Fortnite battle royale. And I was like, this son of a bitch. He called it. He called it in 2021. You have this at your number 2 spot.
Yeah.
The shocked faces in the peanut gallery are abundant.
And I can, so first of all, yes, this was absolutely an attempt to cook the books a little bit because I wanted to get it up there a little bit. Let me just talk, really quick about these things because I'm honestly happy to defend this one because frankly, and I understand it's less so in the HHN community. Everybody's so polite and it's like, well, I just don't know, but I can't wait to see it. But as somebody who is on the Facebook groups somewhat now, willingly or not, there has been so much bitching about this IP that is borderline Tipper Gore level going off about how Twisted Sister is going to convert the kids to Satanism. Like, I joke, but the discourse about how they're ruining the integrity of the event is just complete hyperbole and frankly disingenuous. I think that HHN has always capitalized not only on maintaining its horror audience, it also wants to bring in new people by finding things that fit to their interests. For me, it was something horror related. It was an American Werewolf in London. But for friends of mine that I know very well and very personally, it was Stranger Things, it was Ghostbusters, it was Beetlejuice. And while those properties are perhaps more horror adjacent, none of them are the strictly sheer terror that I think a lot of the HHN diehards are looking for. So I'm relatively new to Fortnite. I've been playing for about 2 years now, and because the whole reason I got into it is there's a Guitar Hero mode. It's called Festival, and that brought me into it. And I'm like, what is this thing? They do a Halloween event. Let me check that out. And I think that puts me in a particular position where I can talk about it a little bit more with Brady here, just as someone who's been able to check out the event. And you know what I've seen over the last 2 years? I've seen Camp Crystal Lake. I've seen Evil Dead and Michael Myers. I've seen the Saw franchise. I've seen Ghostface. And yes, this zone is not going to be incorporating popular IP. But what it is Fortnite stands as one of the largest modern entities to introduce people to horror. And I think that's a massive thing. Every year, people get excited about the rumors of Treehouse of Horror or Scooby-Doo, and by comparison, there is definitely a bit of old man yelling at cloud standard that I feel like a lot of people are not acknowledging. Just like those IPs, Fortnite is bold and colorful, and frankly, this is going to be kind of like a Run interpretation or a more cartoonified Purge. It's unique characters running around with weapons in a cool setting, and I think just that as a concept is something that HHN works for. I've seen so many comments about, hey, but it's going to bring in so many kids and the teenagers and everything. Fortnite is skewed consistently older in the last few years. If you're talking about a kid that grew up playing it in 2017, that kid's 22 now, so keep that in mind. I think at the end of the day, I would share some concerns if this was taking one of the house spots. I absolutely would be like, okay, that's maybe a little step too far, but this is a goofy cartoon scare zone, and I think just having that juxtaposition goes a long way. We have not had something that is outright fun and goofy in that sort of context, in the colorful context, since Killer Clowns left. And I think this feels a very valuable niche. I'm excited to see it, and I just think the event is better off for having something that is like that in it. So at the end of the day, where we dropping, boys?
Yeah, we're dropping to number 7 on the
Number
list.
7 is where we're going.
Yeah.
I hate to break it to you, buddy.
Matt, you also had this kind of towards the bottom with us. You were at 7. We're all at 8. Well, I see us. It's me, Seamus, Jamie, and Tim. So, is this something like another property that you just like? For me, I know nothing.
I know what you're going to say. Exactly. That's it. It's a victim of, I don't have a clue what this is, so I can't possibly be excited for it.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
That's all it is. That's what it comes down to for me.
Yeah, it is. It is one of those weirder properties too. Like Hunter was kind of getting at a little bit in the sense that this is an eye-opener property for that younger generation, which it is Old Man Yelling at Clouds. Everybody came to the event at different ages, but there's a lot of us, and Jamie and Duff, I know for sure off the top of my head, have been going to the event since they were, kids in some capacity. So it's, sometimes it breeds chaos, sometimes it breeds future HHN podcasters. So, Duff and Jess, you did both have this right at 5, so you guys are pretty lockstep as well. Thoughts on this being almost, because for me, one of the other weird parts of it is like you have the 3 zones that are very carnival heavy, and then Fort Nightmares. It does seem like a little bit of like either a gap or a stoppage. Is that going to throw you off at all? Like, is that any cause for, I don't want to say concern, but it is kind of like a weird mode to fill the streets with clowns and then be like, not here though.
At this point, I think that is my concern, is I've kind of abandoned the like Old Man Yelling at Clouds. I don't know what this is. It doesn't belong here. And I've kind of just accepted that like I really like the color schemes and things I've seen from it. And I like the oversaturation. And you know what that actually does work with? Carnivals and clowns. Okay. So there is maybe a world where like, yeah, it's going to take us out of it. But like from far away, hopefully it doesn't look that jarring, while we're in Sideshow, But that's kind of where it is now. That's why it fell below all the other ones, is I like the thematics.
Mm-hmm. As Seamus changes his name to Old Man Seamus, for those not on YouTube. Duff, similar thoughts on that same topic or something different?
Honestly, I really haven't considered that, because if you're going to do a big thematic around the park and it all ties in, the one area you can easily skip is Central Park. You kind of tuck it away. It's not fully connected if you don't want it to be. So not really worried about that. For me, really, the fact that it's at number 5 is just because it is a scare zone. And I'm naturally going to lean scare zone over show or street experience. However, you will notice that it is number 5. So that means something did beat it out. That's not a scare zone.
Yeah.
But I will say the one thing that keeps me any level of hype for the zone is how much they talked about the effects that they will use. And I'm really excited to see how that plays. And then also, I don't have a lot of experience with the game. I played a little bit like years ago. I know one thing about it is the storm. And I really want to see how they pull that off. And I hope it's kind of like a moment that continuously will happen throughout the night.
All right. Well, before I finish this off with Jameis, who is preparing John Wick style in the background, Hunter, if you could, or Brady, whoever wants to take the lead on stuff about Fortnite, what is the storm? What is happening? What is that? What should I be looking out for? Because I know nothing, and I'm a bad HHN podcaster, and I have not looked into it.
Sure. I think the simple way to put this is that okay, well, you need a little bit of background first. All right, here we go. Let's not make this too long. Huge map, right? It's like a PvP style video game. In order to not make the game take 3 hours, the storm happens where essentially if you're in it for longer than, I don't know, it depends what phase of the game. It kills you quicker towards the end of the game, takes longer in the beginning. But let's just say it takes some time for you to stay in it. If you stay in it, your character dies. So it pushes characters into specific areas so that the action of the game speeds up towards the end.
Okay. So Hunter, then with that in mind, what should I expect? Because I'm seeing in the park a lot of big fans and stuff. So like, am I expecting to be like enclosed in with like a stormy fog? I know you don't know what they're doing, but like, is that something in mind that like is possible?
I think like what Brady described, I think what it's going to be, what they're trying to replicate is that this is going to be the end game where it's 10 people facing off against each other and we're caught in the middle of that war zone is kind of what they're going for. And Nick, as an aside, I did drop in the chat, but for the folks at home, Fortnite has the best 2007 scene core merchandise I've ever seen. So for that reason alone, shout out to that. I mean, Tim, Hot Topic all over that Fortnite merch.
I was the first one. I was like, man, this is like the best shirt that I've seen.
I'm telling you, that jacket is so sick.
What?
Nick, don't even lie. You said the exact same thing.
I did. No, I'm not going to lie. It's out there, or it will be out there at some point. No, yeah. I the merch, like, I hate that I enjoy it. It's it's doing its damnedest to get me to buy in. But yeah, so we've talked about this a lot. Seamus, why don't you just send us home on the nightmare topic quickly, because we have heard the rants plenty. It's not. Oh no, it is. It is beyond the Dwagons conversation at this point, I think.
Oh, I'd rather have Dwagons than this shit. I tell you that much. No, I don't want to spend too much time on it because I've already done it a million times and I don't want to bore everybody. But I think my biggest concern, and to me, I mean, no offense, it's just I don't think it's fair to say that all the criticism is just old men screaming at clouds. I'm a video gamer. I've been playing games since I was knee high to a duck. So like to say that like, you know, it's just because people don't know what it is and they're not, you know, they're not prepared for it because they've never played it before. To me, that's not necessarily a fair criticism. Now, not saying that there isn't people out there that are like that. I'm sure there are. I'm sure a lot of people online, especially, you know, Facebook and Twitter and all that other shit. Everybody knows that, you know, people on those platforms.
Everything's right.
Well, they're just, of course, they're just screaming at clouds. That I can understand it. But I think a lot of people, such as myself, do have some criticisms in the sense that as gamers, there is so many better options you could have gone with to the point where, like, you know, I want to know what the decision-making process was that they landed on, hey, let's use Fortnite. Was it that Epic Games said, hey, we're going to give you a whole bunch of money to put our shit in the park? And if that's the case, then that sucks to me. Because, like, if it's just about the money and it's not about what you, like, caring about the event and caring about what people care, you know, come to the event for, then to me that's just that's a throwaway. They're just phoning it in at that point. I think I'm the only person on planet Earth that thinks that I don't think anybody in creative was forced to do this. I think they all wanted to, and to me that makes me even more sad because it's like what are we doing? You had Dead by Daylight, which is a better game, a better form for this, you know, for this type of event than some no narrative bullshit PvP battle royale that is full of fucking licensed skins. Like, I think a lot of people are getting all hyped up because, like, oh, well, you can play as Ghostface. Oh, you can play as Michael Myers. Oh, you can play as Jason. You're not going to get any of that. So, like, what are you excited about? Like, there's no narrative here. There's nothing here. It's just a bunch of characters emoting.
Yeah.
And I don't want to sound like the old. I mean, again, I don't want to sound like the old man screaming at clouds. But I mean, I
who
get
has
it.
old man Seamus as his name tag.
I get what it sounds like, but I don't know. To me, it's a waste of a scare zone, and I feel like it's opening up a path that, although we all think it's great now, it's only going to get worse as we go along, and they're going to get away from the scare zone, and it ends up being all street experiences, and everybody bitches and moans because this. Just a bunch of street experiences and no scare zones. But you know what? Hey, look, if people want to see something different, I get it. You want to see Universal do something with something you like playing, I get it. I'm totally fine with that. But I can tell you right now that a lot of people like me aren't just screaming at clouds because we're unhappy that it's something we don't know what it is. There are legitimate criticisms as to why this is here and why you're wasting that scare zone space on something like Fortnite.
Well, and that is, let's take it from one dancing zone to the next. Coming in at our number 6 spot, Club Horror, which kind of to no surprise, Brady, number 8. I can see why it's number 8 for you. I get it. But is it anything other than the fact that you don't drink? Is it a, as Jamie calls it, club headache? Is that an issue for you, or is it congestion, just no interest?
I was truly so curious if I was going to be the only person with it at 8. Yeah, I mean, Nick said I don't drink, so there's an obvious reason right there that this is a themed bar, essentially. It gets points. I don't hate it. It's not that I hate it. It's just suffering from the classic case of something has to be at the bottom. And for me, you know, a DJ where we used to have a really cool space for scare zones is something that makes me go like, well, this is going to have to fall at 8 for me.
Mm-hmm. Now, going from somebody that doesn't drink and had it at number 8, let's go to somebody who I know famously does enjoy a nice beverage, but still had this at number 8. Matt, Club Horror, Club Headache, is that the thing?
Oh, I just don't. Yeah, I'm the oldest one on here by probably twice the amount of years, so I am the old man yelling at the loud noises and the flashing lights. Oh, okay.
I don't know about that.
It's not my thing. And if it had a better bar, maybe, but last year it sucked. Actually, the event is really starting to kind of get a little frustrating in their beer selections. Like you and I, Nick, should not be going down a random pathway and finding the best beer in a silver cart off to the side of the entire event.
Yep.
So yeah, it's completely not my thing at all. The music, the lights, the dancing, the bar doesn't have anything I want. It's not for me.
And that's really what I was hoping would be like the focus, right? Like if you're going to do something like Brady said, a themed bar, like make it something special and give me the options of these good beers that we are so desperately chomping at the bits for. So other than that, though, Duff, you had this at 4. I guess this is club horror discussion is turning into like a beer discussion, but is this, me and you spent a lot of time there. I enjoyed it. I also had this at 4 along with Seamus as well. So, and Jess had it at 4 as well. So we all kind of do enjoy that part. I know I don't love the clubby, dancey stuff. That's not what I get down for. But for me, it has been kind of a nice get to the side, chill out. Let's let these house times kind of go down a little bit spot.
Yeah, definitely. And I think for me, like it is club horror, but for the most part, it doesn't, outside of the music and what they play, it doesn't feel like a club atmosphere. It is mostly people standing off to the side, hanging out, and the middle's a walkway more than a dance floor, you know? I'll be honest, I would have put this a little bit lower had I not seen some differences in the theming. And maybe I'm buying too much into a specific rumor about a pumpkin pie being there and making it a little bit more thematic and exciting. Because if it was exactly the same thing again, it would be a bit lower, just like I did with Mel's. But I do really enjoy it. And as someone who's privileged enough to go to the event a fucking lot, I spend a lot more time hanging out with my friends than I do like waiting for houses or even being in just scare zones. So having a place to do it naturally is just really nice to have.
Yeah. Now, Tim, you have this at 7, so you're
Sure
not
do.
far off of Brady as well. So what's your thought? Those the 10 pumpkins they hung up didn't excite you?
Not really. But Duff did mention that, there is a rumor out there that there's maybe a pumpkin lord that might be in this area. And the only thing that will save this for me is if the pumpkin lord is actually the DJ.
Mm-hmm. I want
Then I'm
pumpkin
in.
lord of the
I
dance.
like that.
Then I'm actually, I will hang out in there if the pumpkin lord is going to be the DJ, because I think that'd be fantastic.
My thought was I want the dancers to have like pumpkin heads, and I want Little Boo to be on the spinning DJ like vinyl. So Little Boo's just like spinning around the whole
I want
time.
Lil Boo's the DJ.
That's even better too.
He's all grown up and he turned into a DJ
Big
at
Boo.
Universal
Old Boo.
Studios.
But he's got to be dressed up like he is on that, whatever the merch that came out, because that actually looks kind of cool. So.
Yes. All right. Well, again, this is kind of like the Mel's die-in topic. We don't need to spend too much time on the club horror discussion because we have some other interesting things, I think, to discuss. And that is coming in at the number 5 spot is Nightmare Fuel Blood Noir. Now, this one, I mean, what a time for Ash to not be on an episode, right? He put this thing at number 2. He went to... It's almost like he went to church last year and he got baptized by the Nightmare Fuel cult or church and is just miraculously, and I think I saw him hitting that like 3 or 4 times a night. And I'm like, who even is this? Who are you anymore, Ash? Somebody not as impressed with Nightmare Fuel. We're just going to go right back to Duff. Duff, this was your number 8 on the list.
Nice.
So the new
Sure
theming... Is it a case of like they've tricked me with new theming and hit me with the same show before?
Yeah, basically.
Or
Almost
okay.
exactly. Yeah. So like I think thematically this would probably be the one I would be most excited for. But there's been multiple times where I've been like, you know what? That was probably technically the best version of this show, but it was still basically the same show. It's just not the style of show for me. I can enjoy it a couple times a season, but really don't need to wait for it much more than that. Yeah, it's the same thing over and over, even if the aesthetic changes. I know what to expect. And I hope I'm wrong, and I hope they change it up a lot, and I hope there's a nice little story-driven aspect to this that works for me. I just don't expect that at all.
Yeah. Well, let's get over to the optimistic queen of fear and beer and Jamie. Now, she didn't have this as high as Seamus, but I'm still letting Seamus cool down from Fortnightmares. He's thawing out currently. Jamie, you had this at your 4 spot. Seamus had it at the 3. I also had it at the 3 spot, which is high. I guess I can say my piece later if I want. But Jamie, I think you can speak for our pod at this point for why Blood Noir is so much higher than the other stuff for you.
Well, I feel like, and I've talked about it a lot in the past, I'm just really not that much into watching the show. Usually I'll maybe watch it once or twice a season, and that's enough for me. Kind of like the same thing Duff said. I just can't, I really don't want to take time out of the night to spend 30 hours waiting, 30 minutes waiting. That's what it feels like sometimes. And then inside the show for another 25. And then the cluster that it is to get out of the show just stresses me out even thinking about it, But it is cool to see. And I will say that even though I was a little upset that I thought we've done this like circus carnival theme the last 2 years or 3 years, however long it's been for Nightmare Fuel. And then this year they want to do this vampire blood noir thing, which I think is very neat. That's why I have it a little bit higher. I, like Nick said, I will be optimistic about it, but still it probably won't really get me there too often. But I like this theming and I think it could possibly work. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's tough. And I know you kind of messed up by saying you don't want to wait 30 hours, but Ash, I think, goes 30 times. So it's fair to say he waits 30 hours for Nightmare Fuel.
And you know what? Good for Ash too, because I feel like we have definitely seen him like kind of speed walking over there with Ty before. And I'm like, hey, where are you guys going? And they're like, oh, Nightmare Fuel. And I'm like, okay, have fun.
All right, well, see ya.
Yeah, is it right?
But to kind of counteract the Stay and Scream ranking of Ash at 2 was Brady at number 7. So same kind of vibe where it's like, I know our opinions on the show, we really liked it and we have it higher, but that whole like Nightmare Fuel as a popularity thing now has almost affected how much I do enjoy the show. Because I remember the first year or two, you could just kind of stroll up and get a spot versus now, if you're not waiting like at least 30 minutes beforehand, like you are probably going to get cut off. Is that like an impact on it for you, or is it just kind of like not a show you're interested in?
No, yeah, it's funny that you said that because I was going to say last year was my first year going to see Nightmare Fuel. It's just typically something I skip. It's like, okay, that's fine. I'm going to go run a house, that kind of mentality. But last year I was like, I'm going to give it a chance, especially with Ash being super into it. I was like, let's go see. Loved it. I ended up probably seeing it somewhere between the like 5 to 8 mark of how many times I saw it last year. And I enjoy it. I understand why the hype is there. But at the end of the day, like you said, it's a huge time carve in your night. You got to really set some time out to go see Nightmare Fuel. It's just gotten to that point where if you don't get there early enough, like you said, they cut it off, or you're sitting at the very top if that is something that bothers you. And then the show itself is, 30 minutes long. So, and then, filing out of that, whew.
I almost prefer like getting the very top seat or bottom seat just so I can be last in, first out. Like even if it means cutting out of the show a little bit early, because packed into that hot, sweaty Fear Factor stage like sardines is not number one on my hype list. I can tell you that much very quickly. But let's move along through this because I know we are so close towards the top, and I know everybody is hoping for the meat and potatoes of this episode, which is the houses. So coming in at our number 4 spot for our zone, streets, and shows is actually the other show, and that is Stranger Things Return to Hawkins. So landing right at our 4 spot, which is crazy because me, Seamus, and Jamie all had this right at 4 across the board. And it seems like it did kind of average out at that spot. But let's see who I want to go to. Let's go to Jess. I saw her just pop back in. Now, Jess, just not a fan of Stranger Things, lagoons, water, projections. Which aspect brought it to that number 8 spot for you?
So usually the Lagoon show would be above Nightmare Fuel for me, but I had this at my last spot. And that is just simply because I just have not really vibed with the Lagoon show since Ghoulish. And I didn't, if you listen to 365, hot take, but I didn't like Marathon of Mayhem. As I liked Ghoulish more. So like I have that hot take and I just don't see myself loving a Stranger Things Lagoon show more than Ghoulish. That was traditional Halloween. Stranger Things is cool. I like it, but it's not up there for me. So, and Nightmare Fuel, our new person on the team, Mike, kind of has a gun to my head saying, I have to see it. So I think I'm excited. I think I'm scared, actually. I'm not sure.
Now, Duff, this also ended at your number 7 spot. So I guess along the same lines, is it something that like this does seem like it is just going to be Stranger Things best of like clips and that doesn't excite you, or?
I think it's a combination of a couple things. One of them is, a little Stranger Things fatigue in that sense. And the fact that the show is literally just all Stranger Things is a little disappointing. But also, again, scare zones are going to trend higher on these lists for me. So the shows are usually going to be a bit lower regardless. There is one thing I'm excited about, and that's the music, though. I think there's a lot of potential for the music. And I love the Marathon of Mayhem and HHN29. And I think, at least from that side of things, it can be sort of similar, which will be exciting. Again, these are hype lists, so this is my hype for it now. I do think this probably finishes a bit higher overall than I have it placed here.
Mm-hmm. Now, somebody that I know is going to be excited for the music aspect. Hunter, you had this at your number 3 spot. Pretty high up there when you do smash all these things together.
I think at the end of the day, it's just important to have as much entertainment as possible. You know, I don't necessarily have a problem with Nightmare Fuel at all. It's something that I'm lucky, honestly, if I see the one time. But just having some sort of walk-up entertainment is something that the event is missing so much. My first year being a frequent fear holder, that was the first year of Academy of Villains. And just being able to walk up at any part of that show, tune in, listen to Fall Out Boy, and then kick it, that was great. And I think they really need to start utilizing Animal Actors or any other place to get another show in. I was fascinated by the Ted rumor this year because I desperately think they need to incorporate some sort of comedy show into the event. That's neither here nor there, but specifically about the Lagoon show, that's what it really boils down to. I'm not a diehard Stranger Things fan. I've liked the series for what it is, but at the end of the day, I just want to hear some good music and have a way to escape from the crowds when I need to. And for those reasons, it had to end up pretty high for me.
Yeah, and that's the big upside that I see with the Lagoon show as well, where it's like, this is now taking the place of that first year or two of Nightmare Fuel, where I can just kind of walk up. Maybe the show already started. I can just walk in, relax, decompress for a second, and just kind of enjoy my beer and maybe get a little splash of the Lagoon on my face of that super, super healthy filtered water, I'm sure.
The Forbidden Beach.
Get a little algae going. But let's move along now. So number 3. This is where we're going to finally start digging into some of these scare zones. So number 3 is the Infernal Carnival of Nightmares. Now, Brady, you had this at 3 alongside a few other people. Jamie had it at 3. Tim had it at 3. Matt, Duff, Jess. This was like, number 3 was like, it was pretty much locked in when I averaged it. So what is it about this that brought it up so high? It's still in mind with that, like, I'm still scarred by those entrance zones.
Yeah, I think the reason that this is 3 is we all know where people put 4, at least out of the scare zones, right? That was seemingly common besides Hunter. And then from there, the other 2 just sound better. And like you said, I just suffer this kind of PTSD of like the front zone sounding awesome and then going and being like, maybe this year they'll find a way to be able to do more with that entrance space. And then just being like, nope, it's an impossible zone to happen. So that's kind of why it falls just above Fortnite in terms of the zones for me.
Yeah. Matt, you also had this up at 3. So is it again like mashing all these lists together? Is it just because, scare zones are going to be on the higher portion of the list when you do compare it to shows and the street experiences?
Yeah, that's definitely plays into it for sure. And thematically, conceptually, I should say, it could be cool, but I agree 100% with what Brady just said, where I'm hoping they find an improved way to do that, and I kind of count on them figuring it out, and year after year I am slightly disappointed. So but my hope still remains, so that's kind of another reason why it's up there.
Yeah. Now, before I finish off with who I want to, Seamus, you had this at number 7. And I will tell you, you are not alone. There is another comrade, another brother in arms who had this at number 7. But is it kind of the same sentiment where it's just like entrance zone? Like I've been there, done that.
Yeah, there's nothing special about it. It's just a bunch of statues of the different houses, and that's basically it. And you might have a couple characters hiding behind the statue, and they'll go poo. But like, it's not. It's again to me like as of right now, there's 2 scare zones this year. 2.
Yeah.
And I feel like every year since I've been going, granted, I've probably been going the least out of everybody here. So to me, it feels like just in that time, they've drastically changed what the scare zones represent and what they are. And we're now down to 2 actual scare zones and then a bunch of other crap that ends up being like street experiences or whatever it might be. So for me, it's simply like I walk through it, I go, that's cool. And then I go do actual event things. I don't spend any time there. I don't spend any time like oogling everything. I kind of look at things, take some pictures in September when I first start going, and then I forget that it exists outside of walking through it. I think the only saving grace for it this year is it looks like we're going to have like some sort of Jack Oddfellow element to it, whether they're talking to us, making fun of people, just doing their thing. Outside of that, yeah, there's nothing special or exciting about this. Outside of the fact that I just am not happy with Fortnite. Otherwise, this would be at 8.
So come on down, Hunter, who on his list referred to this as Minion Bullshit Zone, number 7. I mean,
Seamus and I are finding common ground again. We're still friends, buddy. But the thing is, yes, and I agree with you, Seamus. I think, unfortunately, I've just got to see how they pull this together because the Avenue of the Stars Minion Land Zone is never really anything. It serves its purpose. I actually really liked what they did last year as far as paying tribute to everyone with the statues. I think that was just a great way to tie the event together. But for me, it's more set dressing and not really a scare zone. And that's all it boils down to.
Yeah, I think for me, if I had to just like jump through the years, I remember just being very disappointed in, God, was it whenever Dr. Oddfellow had that zone up there and it was like a couple like shelves and cases. They had the cool van, the caravan, and you just push aside, but it was the most like non-scare zone. And then you had Sinister and Surreal that had just like tapestry. And it was like, okay, guys, like either put like all the effort or none of the effort for me, because that is your entrance. And I know it is going to be that sort of encyclopedia style zone, but like, I feel like the meme of the kid poking the thing on the ground where it's like, come on, do something, like just put something there for me. But yet it has kind of fallen into that sense. So number 2, we are just at the tip top of this list. And man, the person I really want to talk to is just not here. And number 2 is Sideshow of the Decay.
Damn.
Has Ash just not seen any pictures of what is in the park? Because Ash had this at number 7.
Oh, wow.
Let me just say, I can speak for what Ash has told us. I'm not going to associate it, but I will tell you that he's been on this little soapbox for the last couple weeks of, everyone's talking about how we're going to get all this icon representation and Easter egg, and I'm going to end up seeing just a, hodgepodge of characters thrown out. And also, cool, there's 4 knock 'em down characters, cool Easter eggs. That's the Ash take.
I love it because he is the reason why I'm assuming it's not number 1, because every other person has that 1 or 2. And Ash is the outlier. And Brady, if you could just repeat everything you said, but in a British accent, I think it would really take this episode home, please.
Still working on it, dude. Still working on it.
Yeah, at time. But this isn't one I think like we have to have a long discussion on, because it does seem like we are all in agreement other than Ash. Other than that, all of us on Fear and Beer had this at 1. All of 365 had it at 1. Brady and Tim and Liz had it at 2, and then Matt and Hunter split 1 and 2 over there. So I guess I'll go with Jess. Number 1 spot. It's tough to kind of compete with, and we've now, if you've been narrowing down the list or writing at home, you know what's number 1. So it's no surprise, but it's kind of hard to almost compete size-wise now at this point, because it does seem like the other one is expanding more and more, yet this still is taking the top spot for you.
I mean, I have 2 words for you. Albert Kane.
I was going to guess one of those words.
Well, that's fine. Cindy's also there, but
Okay, yeah.
and also Oddfellow. Like, there's just so many things, and I am all about the HHN history and lore wherever it's going to be shoved in. So I'll take 4 knock 'em downs on top of the confirmed characters they've already told us are going to be in there, and I will be happy as a clam. And then you add in like the sideshow carnival elements of it. Like, my first fandom obsession was coasters. So the little coaster track piece and like just those little things, you're hitting like every little thing I love. It's going to be above clown. Yeah. No matter what. The size does not matter to me.
When it comes to scare zones.
Correct.
Duff, we're just going to keep rolling on this 365 train real quick. Like Jess had mentioned, we have referenced that Cindy Kane is going to be there, and we have these little Easter eggs. But like, I'm still kind of like, not confused, but very curious as to how they belong and interact and who goes where. Because looking at all the props they've littered the streets with, you could make a case for probably every little piece that this is a reference to something else. Whether that's the little Viking hat being from Vikings Undead or something like that. So I'm obviously not cautious that it's not going to produce, but like I am curious as to how does this fit in and what extent. Do you think it's going to be something like how we saw at Lights Camera Action, where we're seeing like these older characters just kind of brought back out, or how do you think it's going to intertwine to bring it up to your number 1 spot?
So I actually do have a similar concern with how that story works. I'm very excited that it's just kind of like hey, every character you've ever loved, well, they're right here. I like that there is definitely an attempt to make a reason and a story behind it, but that it is also my concern at the same time, because what they've basically said to us is that Oddfellow was just nice enough to grant his powers to Cindy because he likes her, and she gets to do this and have some fun. Which, cool, that's fine. I don't mind that being the story, because it's kind of a way to get this basically carnival graveyard out here, and every character you could ever want. And with the Oddverse coming, we know that's a thing that can technically work. But you also need to show it to me a bit in the zone. You can't just say, this is the story, and when you show up, that's already happened, and you know nothing about it. So it's probably not going to be number 1 for me at the end of the season unless we do get some of that actual story. Because like you said, and I think a lot of Hollywood zones have had this issue recently, it's just kind of a hodgepodge and stages with really no content to it. Mm-hmm. So I'm slightly worried about that, but everything I've seen and heard, I am excited for.
Yeah. Now, Hunter, in my own mind, I'm viewing this zone almost as the void in Deadpool and Wolverine, where like all the past stuff is just kind of getting pruned and shoved into this one corner. Is that also like a concern that you share with Duff, where it's like, is it gonna work all together? Like, or is it because it's a scare zone, the storyline doesn't matter? It's just, I just want to see my characters.
I feel like I could better answer this question on the next scare zone in a way, because I have a lot of similar concerns. But at the end of the day, if we're talking specifically about the icons and their integration, frankly, I am someone, I was lucky. My first year was 25. And the argument that always comes up is the icons need to be there consistently enough for people who did not get to experience them. And I agree, but the event has also grown and changed so much from those icon years. I think it's time to grow up and move on. I was so excited to see Oddfellow take a prominent spot, but frankly, I really hope after this year, I think it's time to lay Jack to rest, at least for a long time. It's time to say goodbye to Mr. Schmidt. Put Eddie in the limelight. I would love to, on Catacombs years and years ago, I believe I brought this up to Jess at one point. I think it's time for Cindy to take on the Albert Kane mantle, give her that top hat and make her the caretaker character. If you're going to keep doing icons, you have to reinvent them. You can't just keep wheeling them out. And that's kind of my concern, because it does feel, you brought up Deadpool and Wolverine, I had a hoot with it, but it's very much fan service, and you have to let go of the fan service at this point. I think we deserve that, and frankly, I think the new art and design team are shackling themselves. I know they love it, but you got to move from home at some point, and that's where I am with the event.
What if they pull all the skin off the director?
I'm cool with that.
Okay.
Maybe in Hellraiser,
Yeah. Matt, I was going to go to you too as well. Like, this does seem, I mean, you are kind of the HHN historian with, your backlog of Catacombs going year by year through the history of everything. Is it something we're at the point now where it's like, okay, we do need to turn the page and we have created some new characters, but we haven't really focused on them. We always lean back on Jack the Clown.
Okay. Jack specifically, I think that goes to the well too many times as well, as what Hunter says. But as far as bringing back the icons or focusing on new ones, I'm in a weird fandom position where I'm happy with either of them. So if this were an introduction to the new generation of characters, this would still probably be my number 2. Not characters, I'm sorry, icons. This would still probably be my number 2, just because I really like the lore every one of them brings to the event.
Yeah.
And I will say, the reason it's not my number 1 is a very situational, specific reason why my number 1's my number 1. So we may get into that next round. We'll see.
I say we'll jump right in, but I do want to make so Jess, I just want to make you say what number 1 is, because I know your love for the zone name on this thing. So could you just reveal to the folks what number 1 is on our list?
No. God.
We'll wait here for hours. This will be a 4-hour podcast with 3 hours of silence.
I feel like you have to say it in a country accent. That's how I say it.
Oh, I haven't actually considered that. I was going to call it what everyone else is thinking.
Have you even said it on 365
I
yet?
haven't. I was going to say it. No,
this is the
I
moment,
said
Jess. It's opening day. This is the ultimate hype list. This is the time to do it.
I've said its government name, but we're giving it the community name right now. Downtown, Clown Town to Pound Town, everybody.
Love it. I love it. And they better be selling me some hot dogs from downtown, Clown Town, Pound Town. I'm ready to get that dog in me. So this is our number 1. There was no Ash sandbagging this round. Everybody really had this in either the 1, 2, or in Hunter's case, the 4 spot. So I do want to circle back to some of your comments that you made in the last Scare Zone, because we were clearly alluding to this one. What are your concerns with this?
Frankly, HHN, there's no event like it, but for me, clowns does not move the needle is what a lot of this boils down to. I think that, just like all of you, we do additional haunt events, and I encourage everybody that loves Halloween to do those things. Everybody does clowns. I can go up the street to a garage and see clowns, and that's fine. Nobody does clowns like HHN, and I get it. But for me, my real beef comes with, I do not like what they're doing with splitting in the IPs into this zone. You want to talk about, the Fortnite situation where it's IP integration for the sake of IP integration, and that's what we have here. I would respect them a lot more if they would have just said, hey, this is a Terrifier scare zone. This is a Killer Clown scare zone. This is an original scare zone. I think doing this very segmented thing is a way for them to be like, you guys love these things, make sure you come see these things. And it is, Seamus brought up scare zones becoming more like a street experience. Art is a street experience. The Killer Clowns are a street experience, and really the only quote-unquote scare zone that I'm expecting is the actual hub of New York with the clowns. And frankly, after seeing how Art was terrorized by people, I don't think that he contributes to any sort of natural guest interaction, and that has played into it. People, I did not see Art in any other situation besides a paparazzi configuration. And that really hampered my enjoyment of seeing Terrifier at the event. I'm so glad we have the house and that wasn't the only incorporation we had. But really, at the end of the day, I don't understand the thinking of, I think Killer Clowns and Terrifier and whatever they're doing in HHN, they're all in so different realms. Just smashing those things together for the sake of doing it reads a little cynical to me, and that's kind of my concern. Maybe it's going to come together. I know I'm going to have fun. I'm excited to see the clowns back, but I wish they really would have just picked a lane.
Yeah, it is weird that we are in this day and age now where we do have street experience, So I'm curious again, like I mentioned earlier, like where's the line, right? Like why didn't you just say downtown Clown Town, and then we have 4 street experiences, 2 of which are Killer Clowns and Terrifier. It is kind of weird just being like, yeah, they're clowns, so like it makes sense. So, but people that are not deterred away from the downtown Clown Town is the entire Stay and Scream podcast, which swept the board with ones on this thing. So, Tim, is it? Jess mentioned earlier that size doesn't matter, but this is growing at a pretty big rate, and it's kind of coming off of the fact that we just talked about, like it is almost a scare zone plus 2 street experiences. Like, is that an aspect that is driving it higher, or are you down to clown?
I'm down to clown. I mean, I love the clowns, and I love the fact that they are incorporating a whole bunch of different clowns. My only hope for, like, when we first heard this is that, and I know there's issues with this, but it would have been fantastic if we had Pennywise in this as well. But, and that would have been a great introduction to maybe, get him his own house finally. But, I kind of like how it is separated right now for the moment. So we have that stage that is set up for Christmas and Santa. So that's going to be, where Mr. Art is probably going to hang out and maybe do a show or whatever. I hear Hunter's sentiments about, poor Art, just basically getting, I don't want to call it jumped, but I mean, basically, getting attacked by people from everywhere. So maybe it is better that he is on a stage and he stays on a stage where people can at least just take pictures of him from down below and whatnot and that kind of thing. But I'm all about, like, the props in that area is just looking fantastic. We got the clown car, there's the carts, the signage. It's just all looking fantastic. So I'm just, I can't wait to see what the original clowns look like. We already had the Killer Clown Scare Zone, and that was like probably, if I had to say, probably one of the, like, I had the most fun in that scare zone probably ever in my entire time at HHN. It was just an absolute blast. The scare actors in there were fantastic. They really knew what they were doing. I can't wait to see the clown that holds the little, balloon dog so it pops again and he gets all upset and, that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, I'm just so excited about this. It just towered over all of the other zones and experiences, to be at number 1.
Yeah. Brady, you were nodding through a lot of that. I'm curious. So, like, say Art and Killer Clowns weren't in this zone, would this still be like the number 1 spot for you, or does that help drive it? Or what's your thought process on how excited you are and why you're excited?
Yeah, I think so. Tim made a point of this towering over the others. I think for me, at least, this was a pretty even coin flip between this and Sideshow. I think I just, had to make a decision at some point. We've talked about the disconnected thing. I agree with some of those sentiments of, like, are we trying to do too much in one space where it's like, make those their own entity? Possibly. However, what I will say on the flip side to that is something, and you mentioned the size, something I enjoy so far about this, and I'll see how it actually operates today, obviously, but I love that they've made New York like a true, like, full block now. You don't just go down that one strip. It starts at Fallon, you go down the normal strip, and then you can also get to the flip side of, like, Blues Brothers and Transformers. I think that's great. I think that New York always has kind of this glamour factor of it being the most heavily casted, and I think this just furthers that. And also, I understand the fatigue of clowns, but I also think that clowns are just such a thing at haunts that this almost just feels so on the nose that it works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, Matt, you also had this at your number 1 spot. Is it everything that everybody else has said, or is it New York is kind of like home base almost for scare zones at this point?
It has nothing to do with any of that.
Okay.
It only has to do with the fact that Quentin is coming this year. First time since 31. And he is deathly afraid of clowns, and I can't wait to force him through the scare zone.
Well, I need to be there for that night. So please, I need to see this.
I will let everybody on this call know when Quentin is there. Yes.
We won't even join the group. We'll just be lining the streets with, like, right, binoculars trying to, like, spy on this interactive. Yeah, it's they're definitely taking a step forward, it does feel like, because last year they made immersion their like big keyword, and them expanding this zone and seemingly adding more. They are getting close to the point where a majority of the park is fully integrated. So I do enjoy that. And that's why I had it at number 2. And I think just to round out this spot, Jamie, you had this at number 2 as well. So what is it about Downtown Clowntown that is really getting you excited?
Well, I think kind of the same thing Brady said too. I feel like this was kind of neck and neck with Sideshow of Decay, and I really just had to make a choice, and the other one took the spot. But um, also, I think it's nice, as Brady said as well, that they extended it farther out, kind of by the start of the Jimmy Fallon show right there. I think it's nice that they utilize that space. I've been saying before that in that middle right there, past the bar and like in front of Transformers, that little dead area, it's kind of nice to chill and walk through it sometimes. But I've always appreciated when they've tried to incorporate like more, at least zones or experiences through the park. So I like that cohesion as well. And I do think the Killer Clowns and Art the Clown play a factor for me as well, especially Killer Clowns, man. Like Tim said, I think that scare zone was just absolutely so fun when they had it. And I especially like seeing the balloon dog as well. So hopefully going to be excited to see him make his return. But yeah, I think after recently going to the parks now and seeing some more of the stages and everything they put up, like the Midway at Bazaar looks super cool. I'm a sucker for any sort of like game of any kind. So I like the theming that they did with it too. I think it'll be really neat. And that Jack statue looks absolutely iconic, towering above New York. They got some really, really cool pieces in there. So I'm excited to see how it turns out.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into these houses. But before we do, let's just recap real quick the rankings of our zones, streets, and shows. So coming in at number 8 was Mel's Dying Zombies. Number 7 was Fort Nightmares. Number 6 was Club Horror. Number 5 was Nightmare Fuel Blood Noir. Number 4 was Stranger Things Return to Hawkins. Number 3 was Infernal Carnival of Nightmares. Number 2 was the Sideshow of Decay, and number 1 was Downtown Clowntown. Houses. This is what people are here for. This is where there's a lot of variety. I think the bottom is kind of, you could have guessed it a little bit, but after that 7 spot, like, we are off to the races. So let's just start out our number 10 spot for houses, Evil Dead Burn. Now, I'm very curious. I don't want to open the floor to 9 people all at once, but let's, for a visual, raise your hand if you have seen this movie. Okay, so really only a handful of us. So let's go to those people real quick. Hunter, you had this at number 8. You are tied with the most other optimistic person, being Brady, who I don't believe raised his hand. But Hunter, number 8, you watched this movie. I have and had pretty strong opinions on the movie itself. Not that, 8 is number 2 by any stretch of the imagination, but when we're talking about number 10, number 8's the highest. What are we thinking about this house and how it translates?
Being perfectly honest, I've just, as a lifelong Evil Dead fan, I've realized this new iteration isn't quite what I want from the franchise, but that's okay. I can view them as their own entities. I would just like them more if they were called anything else. The thing, I enjoyed Burn for what it was. The main reason it's at number 8 here, there are things I'm less looking forward to, but it really boils down to a little house called Exorcist Believer, where that was the 10s across the board. I hosted that episode, right? Follow-up point ago. But here's the thing. We all had that house so low, and I think I don't think it topped anybody's list, but it was top 3, top 4 for so many of us. I think it was number 4 of mine that year. And it boils down to IP doesn't matter. Seamus brought up earlier when we were talking about Fortnite, like, why pick this IP over other things? That's always going to be a question, but at the end of the day, this is what they got to work with. WB and Universal have that relationship. They want to build the Evil Dead franchise out more. It's out on digital. They want to, get that money back. So there are so many different factors, but at the end of the day, if the house is good, I frankly don't care what the IP is. And I'm just riding on the hope that it's going to surprise us. I don't think they would put it in that location if they weren't expecting it to be able to deliver, but it does lead to some weird location-based conversations that I've had with many of you. So, yeah, call it the Exorcist Believer effect, but yeah, number 8.
Yeah, that is like that's the biggest comparison, right? It's not completely the same because it did come out, but it's so close to the event that it's like, all right, well, how much did they know about this movie before diving into it? So, Jess, you had this at number 9. You also saw this. So what were your thoughts, I guess, on the movie? And I mean, are you an Evil Dead franchise person?
Oh, yes. Specifically, I am an Ash Williams person, but that is also, I like the films, kind of what Hunter said. Like, I like them for what they are, but I did not like this one. I liked Rise more than I liked Burn, personally, as a film.
Same.
I haven't listened to your episode, Nick, but I heard that you had really strong opinions on it. So,
oh yeah,
I need to listen to it. It's on the playlist, but I thought it could have been like 20 minutes shorter, but I put it at 9 and not 10 because of the same thing, Exorcist Believer. And I feel like it has the potential to be maybe like Insidious and like shockingly scary, which like, not there for the scares, there for the overall. We say it every year, but that does play into it when you go year after year and start to get desensitized. Excuse me. It's kind of nice to get your shit rocked here and there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then let's go to Tim. You had this at number 10 as well.
Sure did.
I'm guessing your opinions on the movie are probably similar to mine.
So let me preface this first. So I hadn't seen the movie before we did our hype lists. We did our hype list episode. I still hadn't seen the movie. So I had it at 10 just because of that. Mm-hmm. I'm still going to leave it at 10 now that I've watched it.
Okay.
So I'm going to take a little from Jess and a little from Hunter. I wish they would have called this something else. And then I also agree that the previous one, Rise, was way better than this one. But with that being said, and after watching this, I feel like this also could be what I like to call, people hate this movie, but man, this could make a really good house. So perfect example is a lot of people hated the movie House of a Thousand Corpses, which is crazy to me, but that's okay. Each their own.
You're telling me.
And a lot of people that hated that movie did actually come out of that house going, you know what? That was a really good house. So that is my hope for it. I don't know. This was just a garbage movie to me, personally.
Hated everything.
You know, and not to spoil it, it's not going to be a spoiler because everybody's complaining about anyway. And, you know, we already got a taste of this from one of the house's previous years about a dog being in a house. There's a crazy scene.
Unnecessary too.
Unnecessary. So, and so hopefully, you know, they learn they're not going to put in it, but also in the same breath, you know, other people, it's horror. Horror doesn't like pick and choose. It doesn't matter who it is. Kids, adults, animals, pets. It doesn't matter. That's why it's called horror, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, but I'm still leaving it at 10 on my hype list, but I have a feeling an Exorcist Believer could be this also as well. So
it seems like the new name for this house is just going to be Evil Dead Believer. So let's go to Brady. So Brady, you are tied with Hunter for having this the highest, which again, we're at the bottom. 8 isn't necessarily like high by any stretch of the imagination, but as like an outsider that has not seen the movie yet, I mean, do you plan on seeing it or do you want to go in like blind at this point?
Yeah, so I haven't seen it at time of recording. I will have watched it by opening night. I want to go in knowing what I'm looking at, but Hunter pretty much perfectly summed it up for me. This is Exorcist Believer. That movie didn't come out until mid-season. I think it came out like the first week of October. The house was awesome. That was a top 5 that year for me, for sure. The trailer looked miserable, and I didn't know why they were going to do another Exorcist movie, but the house was great. And to keep it short, you know, we have so many houses. That's why it's 8 and not 10, is because go for it. Sure. I haven't seen it. It might be bad. I don't know, but see what they do with it for a house.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you do miss seeing that.
Nick, I was just going to say, speaking of trailers, are you guys excited to see the now you can own Ma on Blu-ray trailer from 10 years ago, 13 years ago? That's pretty high on my hype list.
I was just going to say, Brady, if you really liked that Exorcist Believer trailer, get ready to watch it waiting in line for Invasion 13 times on a loop with the speaker blasting 5 feet from your ears.
Or the
but-
black phone.
or the black phone, yeah, because those are just jumping off the shelves at this point. I don't think we need to spend too much more time down on the bottom, so let's kind of start creeping our way up. So coming in at the number 9 spot, which is, if you went back, God, what, 7, 8 years ago, you'd be shocked that this was here. But this is Stranger Things season 5. Now, obviously, this is not our first go around at Hawkins. I think Ash is going to be kicked out of Hawkins himself. But let's start over with Jamie, because Jamie, you have this the highest out of anybody present tonight. Liz had this at 5, but she's not here to kind of justify
Okay,
that
Liz.
ranking. So maybe
All right.
you have similar sentiment. We'll find out in time. But I
Mhm.
mean, what are your thoughts on having it at number 6? It's almost cracking the top half.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate Stranger Things for what it is. I enjoy the series. I wouldn't call myself a diehard fan. It's not like my top IP that comes to the event by no means, but I do enjoy it. Since the last Stranger Things house that we had wasn't on par with kind of maybe the first season or even the other ones that we've seen that were a little bit better, I'm kind of hoping for this being the finale of the series and being the final season and possibly the last time we see Stranger Things at the event, that they're really going to go all out with it. I want to be optimistic, and I guess it's kind of what I'm hoping is just the nostalgia of Stranger Things being present in the house, and the music's a big part of that for me as well. So yeah. Looking forward to visiting Hawkins for one last time. I like finishing the continuation of it too. I feel like it would just feel off if it just kind of left off with the 4th season and didn't really do a final one.
Yeah, it is a weird spot because I am a completionist, but I'm also like, I could probably just do without it for at least a little bit. And, by the rankings, Duff, I know you agree with me in some regard, because this is sitting at number 10 on your hype list right now.
Yeah, there was no question about this, actually. And I said it earlier about the Lagoon Show. It's Stranger Things fatigue. And then also a combination of history tells me it's not going to be great. I will say, though, that I do have some hope, and I would not be shocked if it surprises me, because there's really only one franchise that they've just fully kind of flopped on, and that's The Walking Dead. If they get this wrong, that's only 1 for 4. And I trust the A&D team. So if this is a really good house suddenly, I wouldn't be shocked. Is it going to be terrible 3 times in a row? I don't know. But my expectations kind of have to be there, which means my hype definitely has to be there.
Yeah, I agree. And Matt, you also have this at the bottom of your list. Is it the same thing, kind of fatigue? And
Yeah.
we're kind of been there, done that.
I'm completely fatigued with Stranger Things. Not even just the house, but the show as well. I haven't even watched the 5th season, so I have no hype for this in me whatsoever.
Yeah. Yeah, I was sort of that same breath too, where it was like, you take so long in between the seasons. Like I'll be committed, I'll be there, I'm gonna watch it, I'm ready for it, but like it's got to wrap up at some point. Brady, also at number 10 for you, kind of along the same lines. Do you think like this could be your biggest grower though, having it in your mindset of like Duff said, are they gonna drop the ball like another time? Like, can they?
Ironically, my reason for it at 10 is not one that's been mentioned yet. I don't have Stranger Things fatigue. I think the series is great. I think, season 5 wasn't amazing, but I certainly didn't hate it as much as the internet seemed to. My big thing is that the content's not there for this season. Season 5 wrapped up in an action movie style drama that was like, we have the big boss and there's going to be a lot of wrapping up to do. It didn't have that same like 80s sci-fi horror charm as the first like 3 seasons. So for me, it's more just about the fact that I don't feel that this season lends itself super well to Horror Nights.
Yeah. Yeah. Tim, I see you nodding in agreement as well. I mean, same sentiment. I definitely got those vibes as well watching, where it's like a lot of what I loved about this show isn't, I know you have to grow, but it's not as present in this season. Is that like a big factor in your ranking?
100%. I said on our show, I was like, I would rather have this been a mashup house of all the seasons instead of season 5, because like Brady said, seasons 5 content, like it was good, but I'm having a hard time seeing it as a house. because of the content. So that's why I would rather have the mashup house. That's why I'm excited for the show, because at least the show is going to be all 5 seasons. So
yeah. Now, Seamus, I think are you in the same boat as Matt? Have you not seen the finals? Or no, you did watch the final season at some point.
I
So
did, yeah.
Yeah, I've watched this season.
Yeah, so this is at 8 for you. Is it similar kind of? I don't want to say pessimism, but like, is it that warning signs of like these past couple of houses are just like, I don't know what we can do with this here.
I mean, they haven't really shown that they can do this with any consistency. I mean, I didn't even get to do the first house they did, because it was 2018, I think. So I didn't do it. But outside of that second house, I really didn't enjoy Stranger Things. Not for what you were waiting. You were waiting way too long for the last one was 2 years ago, whatever, 3 years ago for 4, and for what 4 gave you, it didn't justify the wait. So this one, I'm a little cautious as to like, will they pull it off? Maybe. But I do agree with Brady, actually. Like, I didn't think of that, but like this last season, it really wasn't not to say that any of the seasons were really horror, but it isn't that 80s sci-fi, which that's the best way to put it. Is like this last season was kind of like, this is the big denouement. This is the wrap up. This is where all these characters going to be at the end of this. Who's going to live? Who's going to die? Like, are there going to be any real closure? And that to me doesn't really lend itself to a horror attraction in that sense. So yeah, I'm just, it's not that I don't think they can pull it off. It's just they haven't really proved that they can really since they did it the first time. Plus, again, the fatigue is a real thing. I mean, we've done Stranger Things 4 times out of the last 7 years or 6 years, something like that. So it's like at some point this has to kind of just end if you want to like try new things every year.
For people like me, and I think Hunter, you started at 25 as well. This has kind of been, to a lesser degree, sort of our Walking Dead, where this is probably the most represented property I've seen now at this point. This is my 4th time seeing it, and I still don't refer to myself as somebody that's been going to HHN for a long time. It's a little oversaturated in that respect as well, I think. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, you guys have covered it, so I'll keep it really short. You know what season 4 had that season 5 had, and that was set pieces. And frankly, I don't know if they just didn't want to do it that year or they did it out of obligation. Completely dropped the ball with every major set piece in Stranger Things 4. I like Duff. I don't know where they would suddenly find the spark to be like, you know what? I'm not tired of Stranger Things. Let me adapt this even harder season to adapt and make into a haunted house. I think that 4 was the most underwhelming adaptation that I have personally gone through for a major IP. I just couldn't believe I never want to use words like lazy or incoherent or anything like that, because there is a lot of work put into this. But when you go into these grand show-stopping scenes and it's massive shower curtain walls, like there's no coming back from that. I'm sorry. And you know what? Opinions vary on that first house. I'm really sorry for people that didn't get to see it, but that cold open of the house at 2018 is still one of the coolest experiences I've had at the event. And I'm not even really, I mean, I'm like maybe a 6 out of 10 on the Stranger Things enjoyment level. So I have no fatigue, but to me, they haven't shown that they can adapt this property in an exciting way in a very long time.
Yeah. I think that's a great spot to kind of jump on up into our number 8 spot now. And there is one person I'm going to be staring at on the screen just to see their reaction, because coming in at number 8 is Madlands, Caged Cannibals. And with the reaction, she already knows she's up. Oh, and she muted her video screen. No, she's back. Jess, you had this at number 3. Could you shed some light and like let us know maybe what you're seeing? Maybe we aren't seeing it. Like, I want to know.
Haters, I've been saying it since it was announced. Everyone, the minute it wasn't the Carrie Zoo, everyone started shitting on it. And I feel like I would have been like the mayor of the Carrie Zoo if it was actually happening. So like, if I'm okay,
you would have
with
known.
it. Right, but to me, what this is giving is Descendants of Destruction. Everybody ranked it low. And then, I mean, I'm not going to say everybody loved it, but it was a pretty well-received house.
Yes.
I like post-apocalyptic. We're going to get to it. I don't enjoy sci-fi. So where everyone else is going to be really excited about things, I'm the problem when we get there.
Well, and that's the best part of this event, right? Is the variety. Maybe one year you strike out a little bit, but there's still 10 houses. There's plenty of genres, and there's always next year. So it's just, for me, I know the post-apocalyptic is kind of running a little bit dry
That's
at this
fair.
point. But is it like the environment is really like, is that what's hyping you up other than the post-apocalyptic?
I was already excited, and then the UK panel, everything happened over there, and we got pictures inside the house. We got concept art for the characters. And it almost feels, for like lack of a better way to put it, like almost tribal is the way, because they did say with these different factions. And that seems different enough to me, mixed with the environment of the zoo, and like animals are so far extinct. There's so many big ideas that we're swinging for here. And I love when HHN swings for big ideas in originals, because that's where we get like the all-timers. Like Blood and Guts. Look at it coming back this year. Like when that was announced, everyone was hype on it. But like when you think about it high concept, it's a silly idea.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Hey, I'm all about getting behind this house. I really do. Just for context, I had it at 8, so kind of literally right where it landed. But Matt, you had this at number 6. Is this giving you like that Descendants of Destruction vibe too, where it might be a little bit underappreciated?
It's mixing two of my kind of, me being the outsider of houses that I loved apart from my group of friends. Descendant of Destruction is one, mixed in with Cannibal Colony from, I think, 22.
Mm-hmm.
Roanoke, the Cannibal Colony one.
Okay,
so melding those two together, I mean, I have it at 6 right now. My middle, we had this discussion before we started recording. My bottom 3 are my bottom 3, and my top 3 are my top 3. Everything else is like a dart at a wall. I don't know where it's going to land. So this could easily jump up anywhere.
Yeah.
Depending on what they do. And we're going to find out.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, Jamie, you had this at number 10. You have been the one kind of beating the drum on the post-apocalyptic has got to go. Is it really just comes down to that?
100%. I can't stand it. It's been overdone. Jess, I will admit, though, Descendants of Destruction, I thought was probably one of the better ones they've done with the post-apocalyptic thing. I will say I did enjoy it. I thought they had some really cool set pieces in there and stuff like that. But yeah, it just never really does it for me. Even when this idea was being rumored with the Cary Zoo and stuff like that, I was like, meh, it could be cool. We could see it working with something. But I just feel like this, unfortunately, might be museum for me. I feel like museum had potential to be interesting and intriguing in a sense of it being something different that we kind of haven't really seen before. But I feel like this kind of might fall into stuff we've seen before, but who knows? Like I said, I'll be open to it. I could be wrong. I could have this at number 10 and I could end up loving it. But as for right now, unfortunately, doesn't very excite me.
Mm-hmm. Now, Hunter, you had this at 10. Jamie brought up a good point in the term of the museum. I just went back and did re-listen to one of our pre-list mega crossover episodes. And I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure as a collective, we had the museum at number 2.
It was really high that year, but honestly, I feel like the more comparable comparison, the reason it's at number 10 is I'm really worried about having a triplets of terror situation here. I think that there is something as far as, hey, this sounds like a nice, easy concept that should be just like able to knock it out of the park, and then it gets weird for some reason. And I like when they get weird, and I like when they get high concept, but there's also a fatigue from me for houses where it's just people jumping out and going, ugh, stuff like that. I don't find that kind of haunted house particularly scary. And that's what Triplets of Terror was. I think that this one, from the concept, to me, it's bonkers that you decided sinners can go into one of the tents and this deserves a soundstage setting. I was always a firm believer of, hey, location doesn't really matter. And then over the last few years, I'm like, well, I think Grave of Flesh would have probably been in my top 4 last year if it was in a more claustrophobic environment. And people keep saying like, hey, no, the square footage is comparable and everything. They're not using them that way, though. So it's not comparable. So there's just a couple causes for concern here. But Triplets of Terror is probably my most disliked house in recent memory, because even unlike Spirits of the Coven, which I thought was a boring house, it was very pretty and there was some high concept stuff that it didn't come together, but I liked it. Triplets I just thought was a mess, and I'm kind of worried about that here.
Yeah, I agree. Brady, you had this at the bottom as well. Not complete bottom. It was at your number 9 spot. But do you share that same sentiment? Because some of the stuff that I'm kind of worried about in this too, and I have stayed away from the UK panel stuff. I'll see stuff in the streets, but as far as like the in-house stuff, I'm trying to stay away and go in as fresh as I can. Stuff that comes to my mind is, we got these rumors about a zoo house, and I was like, really like, okay, yeah, this sounds cool. And then they're like, well, they're kind of imitating animals. And I'm like, okay, I guess that could work. And then they're like, they've been extinct for so long that they don't really know what the animals are. And I'm like, okay, so like, are they going to have like a teensy dash of what that animal is? And again, the answers are probably already out there at this point. I just have chosen to stay away from them. But is that something that's like kind of crossed your mind as well?
I'm on the same exact wavelength. I've said this a ton on Stay and Scream before, but like the originals compared to the IPs, we're going off of a 3-sentence thing. So it's like very easy to get wrapped up in like, I think I know what I want from this, or at least what I think it is / what I'm expecting from it, but we truly don't know compared to the IPs where it's like, well, I have a pretty good idea. For me, just for whatever reason on paper, this one is reading so clunky and like campy, but it seems like that's not how they're pitching it. But exactly for the reason that you said, I'm like, okay, these cannibals are like imitating animals. Cool. Okay.
Like meow.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I hope that they get closer to the actual animals, because I don't want to see these like weird kind of just hodgepodgey like kind of fur and not real. Like I really wanted to see like a zoo animal aspect in there. Now, Duff, somebody that has frequented Not Scary Farm, they're pretty well known for having the zoo house. I've never made it out there, but when we first were hearing the rumors of zoo, it was kind of almost a 1-for-1 comparison. Now that we have more information to work with, it does differ a little bit from what I understand. Is there a preference for you one way or the other? Would you have preferred more of like, no, this is actually animals, not they're extinct and people are imitating them?
Yeah, so I'll preface this by saying I do like the zoo at Knott's a lot. I thought it was a very solid house, and especially their lights out version is a lot of fun. However, I'm the opposite of you and Brady, and as soon as we found out this wasn't just like vicious or hybrid animals, I was more excited about it.
Okay.
However, it's still my number 8, and I have a concern that these kind of tribes that have like picked these different animals to like exist as are just going to come off a little goofy.
Mm-hmm.
So I like the general concept of the setting. I like the cannibal aspect. It's just kind of leaning into that where I'm like, is that going to work? Are they going to be able to like tell that in a way where it's enticing? Or like you said, is it going to be meow in your face and that's it?
Yeah, that's something that I'm. This one, we've talked about Evil Dead Burn. We've talked about Stranger Things 5. Madlands is at number 8. I do think that this is probably the first of the houses that I could see jumping up drastically for myself. Even when it's like a bad original, we use bad in quotation marks, it's still better than most out there. So I still will find enjoyment from those houses that maybe don't live up to the expectations as the others do. So let's move along now to number 7. And honestly, I'm just going to stick with the same person. Duff, coming in at number 7. You're not alone in this fight, I will tell you. You got backup. Cybergoria is ending up at our number, and you can see by the videos who is also on your side. Having a Fast and the Furious house location, potentially, I think that's where it's rumored to be. as your number one spot is something that did surprise me about you.
Yeah, I don't love the location. You know that. This is almost a fuck the location scenario, and I just like the concept so much. I love sci-fi, and we don't get enough of it in houses, like a dark horror sci-fi. This kind of leans into the Terminator realm, if you will, which is very exciting. And then we also saw, I guess you haven't, Nick, but from the UK panel, we basically saw what the pre-show is. And it's kind of exactly what I was hoping for. So I think as long as in the house, it's delivering like the gory, like robotic creatures that they're promising us, I'll be into it. And I will say, as much as I hate the house location typically, this year, the attraction is like fully closed by the time HHN starts and in time to set up for like maybe a slightly themed queue, because we know they're going to have pre-show. And I believe it was Matt Flood in the article who said that like in the queue, there's going to be a bit more leading you into the house. So, and that little warehouse setting could work really well. So I think this could be like a really all-encompassing experience. I think the tightness and claustrophobic nature of the location will actually help. Am I still worried a little bit about being Fast and Furious? Yeah, a little bit. But the concept fits enough. I am very excited, and I'm just going to hold on to hope. And then it's going to be number 10 after opening night.
This was a discussion we had. I honestly think like out of all of these houses, this is probably one of the 2 or 3 that does make sense for that location, I think. So it doesn't feel as shoehorned in as some past properties, like Jason last year. That kind of felt like a very odd location to put it at. This one kind of makes sense. And Seamus, you're going to battle with Duff right now as well. You had this at your number 1 spot as well. I mean, I know you're the sci-fi fan as well. It's really just comes down to that?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, I like to think of what was it? Slaughter Cinema 2 and Zomboids. I mean, that just to me is like that's exactly what I'm looking for. It's different, it's sci-fi. It's it's not just little green men, and I'm sure we'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, it just sounds like something that's right up my alley. So
yeah. Now, the Catacombs, you both had this locked in at your number 7 spot identically. So is it, I'll go to Matt. Is it just sci-fi is not something you're looking for? Is it the concept that it is?
I actually love sci-fi and have been a very vocal that we need more of it. But for some reason, and I'll tell you, it comes right down to the artwork on this. Like that artwork makes me worry that it's not the kind of sci-fi I want. And that's more of a personal preference. But that's a single image to be basing that off of. So I'm cautiously optimistic. We'll see. It's in the middle. And I've said before, the middle has the biggest chance to move around. But man, something about that, the artwork they put up for that is like, oh, I don't know, man. I don't like that. So
yeah.
We'll see.
Hunter, is it the same kind of idea going into it where it might have been key art, or is it opposite? I mean, I know you do dabble with the sci-fi and you enjoyed it as well as too, but maybe not in this style.
I don't know. I mean, Matt, that's like some straight up Static X artwork right there. Let's go. Like it's some heavy industrial. For me, Cybergoria, I'm just kind of worried that sometimes they can get a little ambitious with the ideas and it doesn't quite come together. Really, all I need from this is I just want a brutal house. I want this to be balls to the wall, gore and guts, and I basically want to see my version of Saws and Steam. I think that's probably what I'm most looking forward to, and if they can pull that off, great. It's just anytime they get really into the weeds with this is the concept and this is like how we're doing it and everything like that, sometimes I'm worried about getting museumed. Is what I'll call it. But yeah, it's really, there's just other stuff that I think I have a better visualization of how I think they're going to pull it off, and that's how it ended up here. Really, I mean, I only really have 2 concerns as far as the house lineup, and the rest is gravy, baby. I just need to see how it comes together.
Yeah.
If this ends up being a spiritual sequel to Salt and Steam, then this will be at the top of my list, like after the first run. So now,
This will be up there quick.
You may have given me some incredibly false hope there, Hunter. You
If
will hear
this
about it
is-
if you did.
If this is just like the second heavy metal house where it is just Terrifier level gore in a cybernetic setting, that's going to be 100%, my rhythm. But I need to see if that's what it's actually going to be. And I think that's part of it. I just don't want to build this up to be something that it's not, like everyone did with Museum, and that's why I said that, and be disappointed.
Yeah. Now, Brady, you had this at your number 4 spot. So you weren't too far off with Duff and Seamus. I had this at 5. So we're all kind of, this one is like a weird one where it was top and bottom heavy. And unfortunately, that's where it kind of landed. But what is it about Cybergoria that's what's getting you to go try to sign up for the, what is it called? The BBs program?
Yeah. To be honest, this could have been number 2, and I won't sound too redundant here. I talk about this a lot, but the idea of not actually knowing the original and like making it up in your head, and then it leads to this risk that's happened to me in the past where an original sounds cool based on the description, but then seeing it in person, I'm like, oh, this has a different tone than how I maybe took it. And for me, this one, like Hunter talked a lot about, industrial, this is 90s. This is like new metal in a house, and it could be everything is dripping wet for some reason, and it could be that. But I think I have it at 4 and not 2, let's say, because I'm just almost nervous to get too excited about this one because it sounds so good on paper.
Mm-hmm. I like that. So let's just off of that last line, I think that's a perfect jumping off point to our number 6 house, which I kind of share a similar sentiment. Number 6 is going to be Sinners. Now, I am like nervous about this. This was one of my favorite movies of the year. I can't lie and say I didn't tear up watching the Oscars when everyone was receiving their awards. And not that I have any sense of like ownership over the movie, but like this is just such a weird piece of media that we're going to dissect in a house format, because it does really seem like we're getting half of the movie. And I think that still can work as a good house concept. But for me, it almost lessens what the movie was, because there was just so much in it that made that ending that more impactful. It's almost like cheapening it a little bit to me. And I hope that it's done in the way that represents the movie properly. But Jess, I know your love for Sinners as well runs deep with mine. And I think I put mine a little bit lower because I, like Hunter mentioned, I don't want to overhype something that I do care about and then be disappointed. I'd rather set my expectations a little bit lower, give it some wiggle room, and then be able to like enjoy it that much more when I'm surprised. Is that kind of in the similar mindset for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's still my highest hyped IP on my list, but that's inevitable because of how much I love the film. But I am nervous, just kind of the same reasons, half the film and everything. But based on what we've heard, I'm excited to see how they approach it. I'm mostly concerned about the I Lied to You scene. I think we all are. That's a big scene, and how do you do it right? But I still, what was this, 5 on my list? Something like that. It was in the middle.
You had this at 4.
4. Okay, sorry. It was in there. Whatever.
Yeah.
So still super hype, but also I got to bring it up in a post Wyatt 6 world. I don't know if I'll ever be as hyped for an IP as I ever was.
Yeah,
year.
you've peaked. Unfortunately, there is nowhere to go but down for you.
And I could have gotten disappointed last year, but I fully committed, and look what happened. We'll see.
Yes, yeah. No, it's kind of the same thing. I'm very excited. I'm very curious how they're able to pull this off. Now, Seamus, you had this the highest on the Fear and Beer list. You had this at 4 as well. This was a movie we've covered on ad nauseum at this point, but it doesn't seem like you're as hesitant about it. Like it can work. Like it'll work.
Yeah, I think it'll work. I obviously the movie itself obviously delves into a lot of different themes, so you're not going to get all of that in a house, and I don't think it necessarily has to, as long as you can understand the story and understand where they're going with it. Plus, with the movie, the best parts of the movie are going to fit as the house itself. So I'm not super concerned. I think there's a chance that it could maybe fall flat a little bit, but I'm not necessarily so convinced that it's gonna be bad that I think that it can't win Plus, I need to see, Rocky Road to Dublin. Like, I need that. I need that. Just, my name is Seamus. Like, I don't know how I could not want that to happen.
Yeah. Tim, you had this at the number 5 spot, so kind of smack dab in the middle as well.
Yep.
What were your thoughts on the movie? Like, when you watched it, it's funny reading these interviews from Ramon and Mike, and they're like, oh, well, as soon as we saw this, we knew it had to be a Horror Nights house. When you saw it, were you like, Horror Nights, or like, no, this is just a great movie?
I mean, yeah, I think the first thought was this was just a great movie. Fantastic movie. I have concerns with this house because like most of this movie takes place in the barn. And that's my concern. I'm with Seamus, though. Seamus, I'm with you. I'm as Irish as they get. Please, like, somehow make that scene happen where they're singing and dancing and just going all out for that. Yeah, I mean, the whole barn. I mean, they could do other scenes, but I just don't know if that's going to be the case if we're just going to be walking through different places in the barn. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm very excited about this house. Like I said, great movie. I think it will translate pretty decently for a house. But like I said, my only concern is just where are we going in this house? So
yeah, one of the things I really want to see is like some breakage from the juke joint. I'd love to see a scene where cornbread gets turned and we're kind of like an all blacked out room with like little like firefly dots, and you hear the audio around you like, hey, cornbread, like just like as you're walking. And I think that would be a fun way to kind of break it up a little bit. Matt, you had this at your number 8 spot. Is it a lot of that similar where it's like, I don't know if this will work or not, or?
No, actually, it's because I haven't seen it.
Oh, okay.
So that's why it's like the top of my bottom 3, because I have a feeling from what I know of it and what other people's reactions are when I do watch it. This is the one thing for sure I'll watch of my bottom 3. I don't know if I got the Eva Dub Burn and I won't get the Stranger Things, but I'll watch Sinners before that, and I think that's going to change. But I have no idea. Everything you guys are talking about is like right over my head. So I have no idea what to expect yet.
Well, you know what? This might be as close because there's vampires. It might be as close as you're going to get to a Universal Monsters house this year.
Okay. Oh, well, that
there's vampires. Spoiler alert, it's a vampire movie.
That I did know that, yes. I even had, in fact, I've had people in Philadelphia message me when the announcement was made of how cool that is because they love the movie and they don't come down to it. So that I do think it has more potential. I just don't know at all.
Yeah, this was like a big get, especially after that Oscar push and being, the most nominated movie of all time at the Oscars. Like that's definitely stepping out into the world a little bit. So let's dive right in now to our number 5 house. Hunter, unfortunately, this is where your number 1 lands. And I don't think it's because people aren't excited for it, but same thing with Matt said at the beginning. His bottom 3, his top 3 is his top 3. Everything else kind of gets shuffled around. I think this is like that higher middle ground for a lot of people. But coming in at number 5 is Ozzy Osbourne, Prince of Darkness. Now, as somebody who obviously know Ozzy, I've heard some of the music, but I'm not as tuned into him as well as you are. Give everybody the spin on, why this is going to be the best house of the year.
I feel like it's kind of an unfair question in a way because it's building up expectation. But really all I can say is this is the IP that is most likely going to mean the most to me that they could ever do. And I feel very similar to what I imagine Jess felt last year with getting her representation. I have talked to every single one of you or gone to shows with all of you or whatever. I know all of you because of music, and that has been a cornerstone of our relationship. And Ozzy and Black Sabbath are quintessential to that. Being a chubby little weird kid, discovering classic rock and playing Guitar Hero for the first time. And I told this story on the GGH in Disguise Catacombs episode, but playing and hearing Bark at the Moon for the first time and Iron Man in that, I was just like, what is this? And that game and just Ozzy were my introductions to heavy metal. I'm not really somebody who has a lot of hero worship, but some of the most impactful deaths was when Lemmy died, and then last year when Ozzy passed, because you just think they're immortal. They're going to live forever. And when they're gone, it's just like, damn, that's it. Like, there is not another version of that person that will ever exist. And you know what? I've seen people talk about this, and it has been overwhelmingly surprising to me the amount of excitement that this house has gotten just by people who maybe don't even really go to Halloween Horror Nights. They're just like, this is why I'm going. I believe in this and I want to be a part of this. And I think that's incredibly special. But as far as what I want to see, Ozzy just has the imagery. He's, the Prince of Darkness. You have all that. I love Gothic imagery in a haunted house. And if you can pull over cemeteries and cathedrals and gargoyles and bats and that sort of thing, this scratches that itch completely. And then you have a rockin' soundtrack all the way through. I really don't have requirements as far as like, I need to see this music video represented. I need to see this and this. For me, it's just, I need to be part of that experience. And after seeing what they did with Wyatt Six last year and the way that they were able to pay as someone who knows very, very little, pay such a loving and beautiful tribute, I have no reason to believe that they won't do the exact same thing here for one of the founders of heavy metal. So it's significant, and I don't think I'm overhyping it. It's the IP that's meant the most to me since Ghostbusters was announced, and I think that it's probably going to eclipse that. I'm very excited for this, and I'll be there in 90-degree weather with my denim vest on, probably drunk as hell, because that's what he would have wanted. So yeah, I'm gonna live it up this season.
Yeah. Now your podcast partner in crime, Matt, you also had this at number 2. If you had to like put the barometer, is it more like the music, or is it more of like that Gothic imagery of horror? Or can you not split the two?
It's him. I mean, it's really him. It comes down to that they're doing it with him in mind. And I've always loved like music that I really am passionate about. I love seeing be put on some kind of stage, like the Alice Cooper house, like almost 10 years ago, maybe more than that. That was one of my favorites, even though it really didn't. It was just a collection of houses with Alice Cooper songs. I don't think anybody here is surprised to hear me mention at least once in every recording the Hellbilly Deluxe Scare Zone. I mean, I love that. That's the best time I ever had closing a night at Horror Nights. And now the fact that they're even just doing Ozzy, and it could be a collection of music and imageries that match the music and have no story whatsoever, and it's not going to matter. I'm going to love it. It's just the fact that they're doing it, for me, makes it number 2. And number 1 is just, there's something that edges it out. Like, we're talking like almost immeasurably why it edges it out.
Yeah. I have this at my 4 spot. I'm not like a super big Oz head, but I know what he represents, and I've kind of deemed this in my head more the fun house. Like, I want to this is going to be a very vibey, fun time. Maybe it's not the scariest, and that's fine. It's just going to represent sort of like 100 said, this is an Ozzy house. Like, this is for him, and this is what we're going to get. But Duff, you had this at your number 7 spot, alongside Seamus. So we'll get to Seamus in a minute, but is it something that maybe Ozzy's music just kind of wasn't your vibe? Is it, what are you think you're missing out on this one for?
I don't think I'm really missing out on much. I think I'm similar to you, Nick, where like I know his music. I like a lot of his music, but like I'm not fully tuned in to Ozzy. Like, I understand the aesthetic, and I'm super excited about the potential for a Gothic aesthetic. There's also this kind of like roadblock for me where like 5 through 7 are just 3 IPs that can kind of interchange. So this very well could have been 5. It's not like it's sitting down low for me necessarily. It's just the faith I have in the other IPs in that little blockage over this one. I don't know if it's the unknown in it, but I'm excited, but I just don't have as much faith.
Yeah. Now, Seamus, number 7 is kind of a point that I also made as well previously on another episode, where we know this is an Ozzy Osbourne house, but what that entails, like, we really don't know just yet. Like, we know Ozzy's vibe, but as far as like other IPs, you can watch the movie and be like, okay, I have an idea. This, you can't really like do too much. There's so much that happens in his career. Is that something you're kind of weary of, or?
Yeah, I think like Duff said, I know Ozzy. I'm a fan of Ozzy to a point, but I can't say that like I live and die by his music. I get why they're bringing him in. I think it's a great tribute to him. I think it's the same as they did with Bray last year. I think it's going to be a good way to honor him and his legacy and his career. But you're right. I'm a little concerned as to where they're going to go with it. I feel like with certain musical artist house, I know we've done a couple now. We've had The Weeknd. He's the big example. But I felt like what they based that house on was a whole concept within that record. And with Ozzy, there's so much that what are they going to do? Is it going to be like every room based on a certain song? Is it going to be just Ozzy and his image and what the character he created? I don't know. I'm also concerned with how much freedom Universal had to do it, to use with Ozzy's, career. I know that, like, again, this is not based on any real knowledge, but I've heard that Sharon can be notoriously difficult to work with. I don't know if she had a lot of control over what was put in the house versus what isn't put in the house. Is the record, label or company, whoever owns a lot of the Ozzy material, are they very concerned about what can go in and what can't go in? So some of that worries me, but at the end of the day, I think I'm more excited for certain originals and certain other IPs more so than Ozzy. So it's not so much that I'm concerned that it's going to be bad. I don't know if it's necessarily going to hit the mark that I think it would need to be for me to really, 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 really like it.
Yeah. Now, Tim, you have this at your number 4 spot. So is this, is Ozzy, does that play a big role in your music kind of glow up as well?
For sure. I mean, I feel like Hunter and Matt hit basically all the right points. This is going to be just like the Wyatt House last year. It's going to be a love letter to Ozzy Osbourne, and somebody who cares about him is going to make sure of that. I do think Sharon probably has a finger on this somehow. I also want to bring up that how our house in Orlando is going to be different than the one in Hollywood. And I'm kind of glad that we're getting this one and not the Hollywood one, because I am a little thrown off that we're starting in his like childhood home in Hollywood.
A little weird.
Yeah, a little weird to me. Whereas we're starting in like dungeons here, and then we're all boarding the crazy train, which I think is going to be fantastic. I'm so excited about this. The only reason this is probably not my number 1 IP is because the number 1 IP for me, when we'll get to it, is just something I've been wanting to come to the event for quite some time. But yeah, I just wanted to point out that how the houses are going to be different. And I feel like ours is, just because of the dungeons and not being in his childhood home, will probably be better, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, Tim, don't unmute your mic just yet, because we are coming up to our number 4 spot.
If you tell me it's my number 1 IP, I'm going to be mad.
Well, then you might want to mute your mic, because coming in at number 4 is, in fact, Hellraiser.
What is wrong with you people?
Don't worry, Tim. I got you, buddy.
All right, good.
So, Tim, you've been beating the drum for Hellraiser to come for some time.
Yeah.
Is this just something you kind of grew up with, and you like that you hold that dear to you?
Yeah, I mean, Mike Aiello hit it right on the head. It was one of those white whales, and I have a few other white whales that I still want to come to this event. The Fog, Scream, and I need a Freddy Krueger house of some kind.
And Halloween 3 Season of the Witch.
Halloween 3 Season of the Witch.
Throw it on the list.
Yeah, I agree with that as well.
Okay.
Perfectly fine. But, oh my God, how has it taken this long to get Hellraiser as a house? It's absolutely absurd and obscene to me. This is going to be, I think, for people that like don't enjoy it, is going to be a dark horse and a very good house. I think it's got some really good visuals. I mean, have you guys watched all? Well, it's only going to be based on the first three. Have you guys all watched them now? Or at
There's
least
not going to be a big box in space that folds in front of us.
Come on, we were so close to number 4.
Man.
I know. I mean, and I will say 1 and 2 pretty well. 1 obviously is just obviously one of the best horror movies of all time. 2 is decent. 3 kind of starts going off the rails, and they're trying to make him like slasher type, and I don't kind of agree with that, but that's just neither here or there. That's just my opinion. But man, look at all the Cenobites. Look at him himself. Doug Bradley's going to be a part of this. How amazing is this going to be?
Yeah.
Pinhead.
Well,
Pinhead is finally coming to HHN.
It is wild that it did take this long for a property that, like, other than a couple like resurgences, it was kind of DOA for a while.
Yeah.
And it just kind of laid dormant. It was like, you can't get the rights to this thing that nobody's making at
Right?
it's like, what's going on? But Matt, you also had this at your number 1 spot as well.
I do for many of the
Matt's
reasons
a smart
Tim
man.
said.
That's why.
This is something I did not expect to see in my HHN lifetime. Maybe my physical lifetime, but by the time I can't go to HHN, maybe it finally would work itself out. So the fact that it's happening is like amazing. And here's the thing, and it's I get in my own head about it. It has, of all the IPs, it has the most potential for the most stunning like pieces and scenes. It also has the highest bar to clear where they could fall short. So I get a little worried, but the fact that it's been in the rumor mill and the zeitgeist and the conversation ever since I can remember being involved in the Horror Nights community, that I can't imagine they're going to let it fall short, which makes me keep it at my number 1. In fact, I think the very first show Hunter and I ever did on his show was a dream HHN, and my number 1 pick was going to be Hellraiser, but someone beat me to it, so I didn't even get to use it. So I had that in my pocket from like the time the very first show I've ever did with Hunter before we started doing Catacombs together. So yeah, Hellraiser's been something I've been waiting and wanting and hoping for forever, and it's I still almost can't believe it, but it's definitely real, and I absolutely cannot wait to see what they do with this. I really want to go through this with Tim now, having heard Tim talk
Matt,
about it.
we will make that happen. We are going to make that happen.
I'd say it is truly like one of those pinch me IPs, because it's like it's stayed on the shelf for so long. It did feel like, okay, maybe it's not ever going to happen. But Jamie, you're also fighting the good fight with Tim and Matt. You have this at your number 2 spot.
Sorry, I was still muted. I do indeed. I think it's an amazing pull for Horror Nights, and I'm surprised, like Tim and Matt said as well, that it's taken this long for it to be at the event. Since we're so familiar with seeing these other big IP, I guess you would say, slashers with Leatherface and Michael and Jason being at the event, I think it was only in due time that we got Hellraiser. For this being a year, and me notably enjoying the IP houses sometimes a little bit more than the originals. I know, controversial, but this is definitely my top IP for the year. I think it's going to make for a stunning house. Like Tim said, Doug Bradley is going to be doing the voiceover in the house, which I think is absolutely fantastic that they included him, and just makes it that much more special, especially for this property being the first time at the event. So I'm very much looking forward to it. And I mean, like they both said too, just the Cenobites, just the different scenes you could have in this house, it just lends so well. And I think we're going to get a real weird, gooey Hellraiser horror, and I'm looking forward to it.
I just want to point out we need to see all the versions of Frank.
Yeah, like
scary,
skinless bones.
I was gonna say the like muscle one is so creepy.
Yeah, there's a lot of imagery in there that definitely screams Horror Nights, and I'm glad that it is sort of this like 1 through 3. It doesn't need to make sense. You just play the hits, show us what people have been asking for. But Jess, you have this at your number 6 spot. I'm not going to spoil where I had it because I'll save that. But you had it at your number 6 spot. Me and you are not far off as well. Is this just like a franchise that sort of missed you, or you don't really have the attachment to it?
Well, notoriously, I am terrible at seeing films, and I've only seen the first one as of a month ago. And at the time of recording this, I will have watched 2 and 3 before opening night. So this kind of plays into it. The first one, I said, what I texted Duff was, it was a film, because it was like a gory soap opera. is what it was giving. And that's not what I was expecting, because I've like the hype with Pinhead and Hellraiser and everything you hear about it. But as someone who hadn't seen it, which whatever, that's kind of why it fell where it fell. But it's still, I had Ozzy above it, but that's just a personal thing. I
can see how you're. Sorry.
No, I expect it to go up, is what I'm saying.
I can see how your reaction to that movie would be like that if you've heard about it for a very long time before you saw it, because where it's gone since then is so vastly different from what that first movie is.
Do you think maybe, and I guess this is more for me and Matt, because me and Matt are the elders in this group, is that we kind of grew up and saw this, such a long time ago, and it probably made some kind of impression. I mean, at least it did for me, and I'm going to assume the same for Matt as well.
Yes.
And now, like, the newer people and the newer crowds are just like, what is this?
Right. We've heard about it. We've seen the shirts, but for me, my parents hated horror. Like, my dad showed me American Werewolf in London when I was 7, traumatized me. That was it. And so I found it on my own, and I was like obsessed with Horror Nights through the online community. So my sister and I are the anomalies in the family, and that's kind of why we're playing catch up at this point in our lives with the films. So it makes sense.
Yeah, it's kind of similar almost in the aspect of, like, if you look at something like The Conjuring, right? Like, if that doesn't come to Horror Nights for like 20 years, at HHN 50 or whatever, we would be all like, oh my God, this is like, we've been waiting for so long. This is crazy. Like, I saw this in theaters and blah, 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 blah. So I get that aspect of it as well. I'm kind of same thing with Jess, where it was like, I kind of puttered around the franchise for a while and I never dove in fully. And then when I did finally, like when it was announced, I'm like, okay, I need to actually like zone in and watch these things. And then I did watch the first one and I'm like, okay, I thought there was going to be more. And then I got to 2 and 3. And honestly, I think I like 3 the most. Like, it's just so wacky and out there and bizarre. Like, I know if you're a Hellraiser franchise lover, maybe that one went off the rails for you. But for me, I was like, you know what? I'm on board. I like this.
I'm happy 3 is going to be represented because I think it's a good visual for a haunted 100%.
House. 100%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if we need to have something in that club.
Well, I need to Nick, where did you have this at for you personally?
I had this at hand up, I had this tied with Liz as the lowest. I had this at my 7 spot.
Okay.
So again, kind of like in that middle ground. I knew my bottom 3, and then everything else can kind of shuffle around. For me personally, I don't have that attachment to it like some of the other movies or original concepts. But yeah, I'm very optimistic that this will jump at least 3 spots, but time will tell. It's just when it was that first 3 movies, it did narrow it down for me, and that honestly probably raised it up. But it's still, with 1 kind of falling a little bit flat for me. I am like hoping for more of that wacky Hellraiser 3 Cenobites. Like, I want to see, the DJ, the disc guy. Like, I want to see all those weirdos in there. So that's what I'm kind of leaning towards. Now, Brady, you have this at 3. Did you get the rub? Like, did Tim just like hold you down and make you watch Hellraiser as a kid?
No, honestly, I mean, I only watched the first one maybe last year sometime, and then I've kind of caught up since then for what's going to be represented. I don't know. I just think that it's different. I think it's interesting that like Hellraiser, and when people think of Pinhead as like a horror icon, he sits in the same kind of category as like, the Jasons, the Freddys, the Michael Myers. Like, he's kind of in that like B tier of like the greats. And I think watching the movie and being like, Jess put it's kind of a horror soap opera. Like, if we're going to break it down to its bones, it's a movie about somebody bringing someone back to life so they can continue to cheat on their husband with the husband's brother. It's very interesting that this is something that's been so well received as like a character, when we get into the second one and you start to see some of that more interesting visual content of like, oh, okay, we're going into the puzzle box, we're seeing this big labyrinth, all that stuff. It gets really neat. I'm excited to see how they're able to pull it off. I think Tim mentioned it. We've got to be in the attic like multiple times to see the different stages of Frank. I hope that that's in there. But yeah, I'm excited for it to be something a little out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that first watch of that movie, I maybe I wasn't completely as tuned in as I thought, but I was very confused as to what was like who is with who and where, and I'm like, what? Like, who is this guy? Like, oh, and then I had to watch it like 3 times. I'm like, oh, okay, now I get it. But Hellraiser is our highest ranked IP if you are keeping track. So if that's any consolation to everybody else. So let's move along now to our number 3 spot. And this is, just at short glance, I think this is our most varied property. And coming in at number 3 is actually Invasion, Alien Abduction. Now, I don't have my alien partner in crime, Liz, on board. Me and her actually have this at our number 1 spot.
Oh my goodness.
That's
number 1.
crazy.
It's at number 1, okay? Much like Tim and Matt coming from a childhood of Hellraiser, I came from the childhood of Signs, okay? This is just it's going to be there. Especially hearing all the tech that they're trying to introduce into this house. So, Jamie, you had the most huffing and puffing to say. You have this at your number 8 spot. Why do you hate little green aliens? What you're the reason why they don't want to come visit.
They don't do it for me. They just really don't do it for me. I'm sorry. When we were talking about earlier, kind of the overdoing of the clowns, I feel like the aliens have never done it for me. I just see people all the time seeing reels on Instagram. Oh my God, I remember this scene in Sign scared me so bad when I was a kid. I was so afraid of aliens. I'm like, I was watching that too, and I just never have seen the hype behind them, I guess. Maybe reading, we did get the Signs VHS tape signed. Yes,
Signed
we did,
by
Nick,
Rory.
if you are watching on YouTube. Very cool. But, yeah, I mean, I just think it's kind of a basic idea, but I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I know especially Liz is very excited for this, and I'm excited for her. That I know she's very much looking forward to it. But yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge sci-fi genre person in general. And if I am, it would probably be more leaning towards Cybergoria, that kind of sci-fi versus like the alien type of sci-fi. So yeah, sorry, aliens. Maybe you'll be a really, really cool house. And I think they could implement some cool scenes and different things they could do in the house, depending how they utilize some of that tech that Nick mentioned. But for now, it's staying fairly low for me, unfortunately.
Well, you're not alone, Jess. You also have this at your number 8 spot.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah,
So
I do,
just
girl.
not a fan of. Is it aliens? Is it sci-fi? Is it kind of a mixture of both?
I said I'm not a sci-fi person earlier. Aliens are like the tip of that, like the top of it. They've never scared me. I've never cared to think about if they're really out there. I don't, my parents were watching Science too, and that didn't bother me. I'm with Jamie on that. So I also like in seeing all the concept art and the excitement for it. It looks so cheesy. And they're little grays, by the way. They're not green. You all keep saying green. Charles Gray. Yeah, this is his house, and it's a play on his name as well. Give him some respect. So
little gray. I'm gonna call him Green Man. I don't
whatever.
care. I'll paint him if I have to.
It looks so cheesy, guys. I'm sorry.
I don't want to see it yet. I don't want to. I don't want to believe. I want to believe, but I don't want to believe.
Whatever.
I haven't looked either, but I kind of figured it would be that. And I feel like people were saying that it was supposed to be a very scary house.
That's what they said
if
in
you're
the
telling
article.
me it looks a little cheesy, then come on, throw us off a bit. Just saying. Tim's raising his hand. Sorry, Tim.
You're not going to rain on my parade. Yeah, let's get to the Stay and Scream crew over here, because Brady and Tim, you both had this at 7. Ash had it at 4. Liz has it at 1. So this is the friction amongst the podcast here.
Yeah. So here, let's start off by the name first of all. Invasion.
Little bait and switch.
That if this wasn't called Invasion, this might have maybe rose up a little bit on my list. But you're using Invasion from like the Scare Zone. I'm expecting a campy house, not little gray men running around trying to scare me. But with that said, I would say on my list, this probably has the potential to raise the highest just because of the article and saying, maybe this is going to be a very scary house. But I also understand the whole, alien, are you really going to scare me? Little gray men, little green men, doesn't matter what color they are. It doesn't matter. But I think we all have that concept in our head of what this was going to be when we saw like spec maps, right?
Mhm.
We all thought this was going to be, I think Hunter maybe talked about this earlier about Lightning Gulch, and we all maybe thought this was going to be like some kind of mashup of those aliens maybe invading in there, almost like an aliens versus cowboys kind of thing. So I think I'm just a little more disappointed that it's not a campy house with the name. That's all.
Okay. Yeah, I get that. Now, Duff, you had this at number 4. Kind of going off of that, the rumor season and how this kind of did evolve a little bit. Would you have preferred the campy? Do you like them attempting the scary alien aspect?
Yeah, so for me, the most exciting thing, and honestly, this would have been higher had it stayed that way, was that they're taking this a serious route. We've never really seen them do aliens in any way that's not campy in some form. And Charles Gray, in his article, made sure to say, like, this is going to be like a real life experience of an abduction. It's going to be terrifying. They're busting through the walls. And I'm very excited for that. This could have been like number 2, maybe. However, the UK panel released some concept art, and those aliens, a little goofy, a little silly, if you will. And that has kind of brought me more in check. I'm still excited about what he has said. I still trust that. And concept art doesn't always, it's not showing me the full picture. So I'll see what it looks like in person. But my hype was higher at one point and has been contained just a bit. But yes, I am way more excited about the fact if they are going into a true scary route rather than just being campy again.
Yeah. Now, Hunter, you had this at your number 3 spot. Again, is it more of the sci-fi? And like I said, I haven't seen the concept art. It's goofy and is what people are saying, but I remember them saying there's a lot of like these weird tentacle features that are going to be in the house. So I'm curious, like maybe we don't get a lot of the goofiness as well. We might get some like hidden tentacles, stuff like that. Is this just what you're looking for, that sci-fi style?
It's not even necessarily sci-fi as much as I just think aliens, they do tie into the intrinsic fear of the unknown, and whether or not that works for you or not, I get it. But I really don't think we can look at concept art or just renderings or anything like that and write it off, because how something looks on stage is completely different than how it's going to look surrounded by strobe lights or in a pop out and then right back into a dark corner. There is something very unsettling about some sort of humanoid creature very, very quickly popping out where you're like, that looks like me, but not like me, and I am unnerved, and that's kind of what I'm hoping for here. I think that this is going to be a special effects house. I mean, for the comparison, this is the Spielberg house, right? This is the Close Encounters house, where as soon as they've got the lighting, the fog, and whatever else going in there, I think it's going to make a massive difference of perception. Frankly, I think this is the dark horse of the year, and it would not surprise me if this really takes off and finds a reputation later on.
Seamus, this is your number 3, so you're also very excited for this one. There was that Cowboys versus aliens. Maybe we return to Lightning Gulch. Maybe we don't. I believe, my memory is terrible. I believe I went through that house once. That was during the years where I would come for one night only. But for somebody that didn't see Lightning Gulch, was it exciting to maybe see there? Would you have preferred it to be a mashup, or do you like where it landed?
Yeah, I don't know what the cowboy hat was all about. I mean, maybe that was just to kind of like throw people off, but I'm always down for, again, sci-fi, but also I like the idea of a campy alien house. I kind of want to see that. It's kind of like what Bugs was if I wasn't terribly afraid of bugs in real life. That's kind of what that would have been for me, but this, is something that I'm kind of hyped about. So it's in my top 3. We'll see kind of how it goes. It could go up, it could come down. I know I didn't really get to say much about Hellraiser. I feel like Hellraiser, I've got it kind of low at the moment, so they could come with swap places in a lot of ways. But I think that for what we've seen so far, I mean, I guess I could see why people are concerned about the campiness of it, but maybe that's what I'm looking for in an alien house. But I don't know, maybe that's just me.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm very excited, and I do think this one, it will be one that shocks people. So let's move right along to our number 2 house. So obviously, if you are keeping track, you will be able to figure out our number 1 house as well. But we're going to talk about just our number 2 house at the moment, and that would be Jack and Oddfellow: Chaos and Control. The ringmaster of HHN did not secure the top spot. There is another leading man, it seems, this year. But, Matt, you had this at number 5. What
I do.
is it? Is it the Jack fatigue we kind of talked about when we were doing in scare zones?
It's a little bit of that, but it's also when they've had houses like this, like battle matchup face-off houses, they overpromise an actual battle between the two that doesn't happen. And I'm a little worried that's going to be the case in this again, that we're not actually going to have them face off in any kind of way at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, Hunter is nodding in agreement. It is that weird, like, we've been saying since we saw Dr. Oddfellow, we were like, okay, pencil it in. HHN 35 is Civil War with icons. It is Oddfellow and Jack head to head, like, just write it. And we got it at 35, but it doesn't seem like that's the way they're going to go. It kind of took a swerve a little bit. So, Hunter, you had this at your number 4 spot, so you're not too far off as well.
They're too precious with Jack. There is a bit of Jack fatigue here, but I think this house would have been a lot higher for me if ILO didn't give us a plot breakdown on Twitter 17 months ago or whenever the hell that was. It's fine to give people an idea of what to expect because a lot of us did want kind of that. I want these icons on Jack's side and these icons on Oddfellow's side and have them smashed together in that Civil War type situation. I think that they do pull their punches when it comes to any sort of face-off. That said, HHN is going to do it right. I have no doubt this is going to be one of the all-stars this year. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be very cinematic, and it's going to be great, but I just do not like the idea of if this is ultimately a team-up house, that's not a concept that appeals to me. I get it. You can't have one die over the other or anything like that, but when you get into the real nitty and gritty of the actual HHN lore between Oddfellow and Jack, they've already been twisting things slowly every single time they show up, and that's fine. You do have to adapt as time goes on. I just, frankly, I want them to pick a side. I want them to decide which route they want HHN to go down, and it's not like you can not retcon it later on. Just make a decision and go for it. But again, this is all speculation, so I have no proof what this house is actually going to be. I'm just going off of the things that we've heard, and at the end of the day, again, these are the two titans of HHN. This is the headliner original house, and it's going to be great. So it's just number 4 because there's other stuff that I am more excited to see.
Yeah. Now, Brady, you had this at your number 1 spot. Do you think, like kind of Hunter alluded to, like they're not going to have a headliner of Jack and Oddfellow and drop the ball? Like, do you expect them to like throw everything at the wall? Everything they've learned in 34 years of haunted houses, is it going to be present in here? Are they really going to swing for the fence on this one? Or you think, they're banking on the namesake alone? Obviously, you have it at 1, so you don't have that opinion that it might fall, but like, where's your mind at to bring it all the way to number 1?
Yeah, so obviously, if you're keeping track, we know number 1 and number 2. For me, they kind of fit a similar role as to what I want out of the event, which is lore additions to what we all love. We're all people that have podcasts dedicated to Halloween Horror Nights. We deeply care about this stuff more than the average guest, but without doing the like too gimmicky fan service thing like we've seen in some of these like icon mashup situations. And for me, Hunter made a good point of like, we've already seen the Jack and Oddfellow story kind of get retconned over time. So, that is a factor. But for me, you simply can't give me enough of Jack and Oddfellow and a house dedicated to their story and what additions they make and little pieces that maybe we kind of know, but maybe we get a better story and a better view on like details now, So for me, it's just about Jack and Oddfellow are the two most kind of memorable icons, and for us to get even more of their story is a win in my book.
Yeah. Now, Jess, this is also at your number 1 spot. Is it a lot of what Brady had said, or we just like, this is the icons, this is my favorite, this is what I'm in on?
A little bit of both, but a lot of what Brady said. And also, I think Brady is in the same boat, and there's a couple of us, but like, gonna speak for the people who started going after 25. 30 is the only face-to-face interaction we've had with the icons, with Jack. So for all of us, like, this is a great way, because, the utilization in 30 I'm not going to beat the dead horse, but less than ideal, obviously, for our first time after, seeing Carnival of Carnage and everything from 25. Like, we didn't get that. And, that's circumstantial for all of us, but this feels like kind of our time to have that, plus our new icon, because Oddfellow was our first original new icon that we all got to see after 30. Like, it's just very special. And also kind of like what Hunter was saying, like, they're not going to mess this up. I really do trust them with it. And any kind of lore, I say it all the time, just give me Easter eggs, give me acknowledgement of history. We're going to see Jack Schmidt the man, like that alone, Shady Brook callbacks, like so many things that we haven't gotten to see.
Yeah, as far as like the new icon aspect to us too, I mean, I was surprised that we didn't get a Sinister and Surreal headlining year again, just to kind of really cap off this big 35 anniversary. But Jamie, this is at number 3 for you as well. So obviously I know you have the Jack love. I'm surprised. I'm surprised it wasn't a little higher. I did think you would flip that in Hellraiser.
I was going to say, did you think I would flip my 3 and 2? Yeah, it was a tough debate, honestly, but I would have been very surprised by my own hype list if I did have those switched around. But yeah, the Jack fatigue is unfortunately not real for me. I don't think it'll ever be. I love seeing that clown. Growing up in Orlando and going to the event at a younger age, I feel like Jack has been the brand icon. I mean, that's what I think of when I think of Halloween Horror Nights and growing up seeing these commercials on TV and just I wasn't even really scared of clowns like that when I was younger, but I was like, ooh, this guy's creepy. And going to Carnival of Carnage and kind of how Jess was saying, I'm now excited that people who maybe didn't get to go that year or haven't experienced like a full-on Jack house, even with Oddfellow as well, very excited to see the two together. I think it'll be nice for them to kind of get that old bits of HHN kind of sprinkled in with the new generation with Oddfellow and everything. So I think it is, as Jess said, I think it's going to be a very special house and I'm excited to see it.
Yeah. Well, let's stick with you then. Let's move over now to our number 1
I can't believe
house of the year.
Truly.
And that is going to be HR Blood and Guts presents a Halloween Fright-tacular. Now, an interesting part about this is only Jamie had it as her number 1.
I was just doing the numbers to myself and I was counting. I was like, well, they've already said their top. And I was like, I think I'm the only one who put this at number 1.
It's in everybody's top 3. And the majority of us have it at 2. But Jamie, you have it at number 1. So,
I do.
The floor is yours.
I do indeed. I guess this kind of goes back to doing the original HR Blood and Guts Holidays of Horror House and just absolutely loving it so much. I'm a sucker for that old school kind of talk show theming. Nick and Seamus and I have talked about before in episodes that we would love to see like a late night with the devil themed kind of house. So I feel like this is definitely giving that old like 70s talk show vibes, and especially just working with like the TV production company and the WKNB. I think it's very cool. I love an anthology style house, and I really like the route that they took last year with doing the Halloween Spooktacular. From seeing some of the different key art and different stuff from the thing in the UK, I was nosy and I did want to look at the HR Blood and Guts stuff, so I did. I'm very pleased with some of the themings that we'll be getting. I think there'll be very fun rooms in the house, and it's cool to see someone like HR Blood and Guts finally coming back to the event after all these many years. And kind of same thing, as Jess said before with Jack as well, it's just nice that people finally get to experience this character if they haven't gotten to before. And this is probably the first time in quite a few years that an original has taken my number 1 spot over an IP.
They've been listening to the podcast and they're like, you know what? We got to get Jamie on board for these originals.
Something. No, but now, I'm very excited. I think this will be a very unique house.
Yeah. Now, Matt, you had it at, and this sounds exaggerated when I say you had it at the lowest. The lowest is 3. That's not low by any stretch of the imagination, but it's literally Jamie at 1, you and Liz at 3, everybody else at 2. Like everybody here is on the same wavelength. But I mean, it's been so long since we've seen HR. Like, this is kind of the callbacks we want to see, not the oversaturated characters, but these ones that kind of didn't get the full shine.
I thought there'd be no way anything would top this as my number 1 when they announced it. And then they announced Hellraiser. I'm like, okay, well, it's my number 2. And then they announced Ozzy. I'm like, well, it's my number 3. But it's still the strongest number 3 I've ever had going into a season. Yeah, I can't wait for this because I'm not going to say this house alone was the reason for Catacombs, but it's a reason for Catacombs. This is the first year Quinn had gone, was 21, and this is a house we talked about the most. And then it kind of like kept the conversation going, and that's when we realized it's like, well, we're talking about it anyway. Why don't we do a podcast about it so we can have these conversations? Because you're learning about this is what I'm saying to Quinn. You're learning about it, and I'm telling you, other people probably have the same questions. I'm not going to say it wouldn't have happened without this house, but this house, the original one, I'm saying, had a lot to do with it, and I that house was so definitively its own thing. It doesn't need a sequel, and I never thought I'd have one, but now that I have one, I can't wait to see it. And I said this before on another show that whenever they try to make lightning strike twice, it barely works, but I don't think they've waited 14 years to try to make lightning strike twice. So I'm looking at this from a completely different angle, that they're bringing it back in a different way, not because it was popular last year or 2 years ago, but because it's time and it's something people want to see. This is in the same category as Hellraiser. It's like, I didn't think I'd see this again, but I wasn't thinking about it. So I guess it's a little different category. It's more of a parallel category. So, or adjacent. So I'm incredibly excited about this because it's, I guess a good way to say it is something I never knew I wanted until they announced it.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, Hunter, I mean, as a fan of literally the classic horror, the horror like talk show host, like this kind of, I think in my mind, checks just about every single box for you. What is it about this house that you find the love in as well?
I mean, yes, it's really exciting that HR Blood and Guts is back, but my big key point is Halloween. It's Halloween theming. It's classic Halloween. If you throw oranges and blacks and purples and everything else at me, I'm just going to shit happiness. You know, like that's really all it boils down to. Anything that is classic Halloween inspired is always going to ride at the top. If it wasn't for Ozzy, this would have stuck out really. I mean, that would have been a number one lock. And I said publicly on y'all's Facebook, I was like, you know, it's kind of a 1A, 1B situation, but the event this year could just be these two houses and I would be happy. Yeah, it's great. We have a horror host, love Svengoolie, love Elvira, love all of the hallmarks. But the fact that we're getting back into the HHN history of that, my only cause for concern is sometimes I feel like they can look at things and be like, hey, we can do that again. And then you end up with Slaughter Cinema 2. But I think with this one, that's less of an issue because I didn't see that one, and a lot of people didn't either. They didn't see the original one, and there's no shame in taking it a different direction. It's not going to be construed through that lens. I just think if you are going to bring something back, you have to make sure that you get it right, because otherwise you end up with a situation like the Roman chickens from a few years ago, which were very divided. I kind of threw that over to Duff. I'm not sure if you were picking on him next, but yeah, it's tricky territory whenever you bring back something that's so beloved.
Yeah, and I was going to go to the 365 crew next because while their votes are the same, it's interesting because, you know, Duff, this is a house I believe that you have seen in person. Jess, I don't believe you saw the first iteration as well. So, but that difference didn't make a difference at all. You both have it at 2. So, I mean, Jess, is it just from Duff kind of spreading the love and you doing your own research as well, being like, okay, this is my guy?
Normally, Duff and I, we're pretty aligned on like originals, I would say. Not this year, though, obviously. I think this is the one we agreed the most on. But like hearing his opinion, it only matters so much because brain fog from 15 years ago. I don't think I could trust him very much at this point. For me, it's the lore. It goes back to the same reason as Jack and Oddfellow. That is the thing I'm passionate about. It's the reason I sit behind a microphone. Like, I might not have been going as long, but I was on the boards and creeping and too afraid to go. And this was one of my Wayback Machine houses every time I would hear about it, you know? So it's really cool. And the fact that, like Hunter said, it's classic Halloween. That's why everyone liked the theme at 31. And that is kind of a perfect storm with Blood and Guts. I think it's a great idea. And I think it's going to be lightning striking twice. I don't see a problem with it. I don't know.
Yeah. Now, Duff, coming from somebody that has seen it, and you know, are there any of those concerns that maybe Hunter has brought up too, where it's like, do we need to go back? Is there more story to tell? You know, it's can we, have lightning strike twice, like Matt said as well?
Yeah, I think before it was announced, I definitely had that exact concern. And just like Hunter, with something that came to mind was Slaughter Cinema 2. Obviously, similar style anthology type house in a way. It's a natural kind of correlation. But once it was announced, once we got the article, the UK panel, all this stuff that's come about it really feels like they've captured the essence of who HR Blood and Guts is. They've given him a reason to come back, breaking out of prison. It's going to be the same thing, the same location, but now it's a derelict version of it. So it's going to be the same, but completely different. So it feels just so fitting. And again, it was 15 years ago. So even if it is like really similar, that's not necessarily a bad thing at this point. They've been so like trigger happy to just bring things back within a few years recently. This is a character who's probably deserved to come back for a while, and they've waited this long. And I think it's going to really pay off this year.
Yeah. No, Seamus, me and you have not seen this original iteration. That doesn't kind of make us worried at all. We're kind of all bought in on this.
Yeah, I think I'm completely bought in on it. Just because I like I think like Jess said, I like the lore of it. I love learning about the lore. Even though I've only been going for a few years at this point, I think there's so much there that it's interesting to see it up close. So yeah, I'm pretty excited. And like Jamie said, I think I just like the idea of 70s, 80s talk show, late night of the devil, like with the devil type of idea. So yeah, I'm definitely excited for both, for that to happen.
Mm-hmm. Now, Tim and Brady, again, like everybody that we're talking to has that number 2, like locked in. I believe both of you have not seen that original house as well. So it is kind of like through the grapevine. Obviously, we do our research. We know these characters and we get excited for it. With this new take, is it more the character kind of getting dusted off and brought back? Or is it that like heavy Halloween vibe where it's like, okay, we have our classic Halloween representation?
I think it's a good mix of both. I think that getting that satisfaction of like, oh, I get my time with HR Blood and Guts, and also like, oh, they're taking a route where it's like going to be super over the top classic Halloween. I think there's also a third factor that somehow hasn't been brought up, is that in one of the articles for the announcement, we found out there's going to be a Halloween tiki bar themed room, which is like,
you love bars. I know that.
Well, okay, to be fair, Nick, I do love tiki stuff, even as someone that doesn't drink.
We love a tiki.
Yeah, you can have a little pineapple on the rocks. That's fine.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So,
you're just here for the vibe.
I'm with in the same boat as Brady. We got a little taste of of HR Blood and Guts in the Scary House. With that scene, we didn't get the original, but also, to bring this to light is the guy that played him. They're also bringing him back as well.
It's crazy.
Which is fantastic. So, we get to see that as, me and Brady, this will be our 10th year. So, we get to see that, and that's really exciting. I love the lore too. It's all about the lore here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't wait for this one. And it is funny that it had less number 1 votes than the house that ended up at number 1, I believe. So it's just the average, and it worked out that way, and we're all very, very excited. So that wraps up our list. Let's go through it really quickly. We don't have to spend time on it too much, but coming in for our houses at number 10 is Evil Dead Burn. Number 9 is Stranger Things 5. Number 8 is Madlands Caged Cannibals. Number 7, Cybergoria. Number 6, Sinners. Number 5, Ozzy Osbourne, Prince of Darkness. Number 4, Hellraiser. Number 3, Invasion, Alien Abduction. Number 2, Jack and Oddfellow, Chaos and Control. And number 1, HR Blood and Guts presents a Halloween Fright-tacular. And that wraps this up. Guys, thank you all so much for joining us on this entire podathon journey, as well as this episode. This is something that, when I first started getting into the podcasting world, me and Seamus and Matt and Hunter reached out, and they were like, hey, do you want to jump in on this like hype listy thing with all these other creators? It opened my eyes to a lot of things, but the thing I'm most grateful is it opened up a lot of friendships to everybody that's on here as well. So thank you for joining us. Brady and Tim, before we sign off, you let everybody know where to find Stay and Scream. I know that's Brady's favorite thing to do on sign-off episodes. So, and if you're up to anything special, and I didn't even mention it, the first place winners of the HHN inaugural U.S. Open.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Nick, you're giving me a little PTSD here, man. I wasn't expecting you get to call on someone to do the socials
I had that
thing
in the
now.
chamber.
And I was like, oh no. Yes, for anyone unfamiliar with us, listening to Fear and Beer tonight, we are Stay, the letter N, Scream, Pod on Instagram. And if you're using Twitter and you want to check out our show on Spotify or YouTube, all the links are in the description, all that good stuff. Keep it short and sweet.
Yep. Now, Duff and Jess, thank you for joining us. This isn't a collaboration that is uncommon, but I feel like we haven't done an actual episode in a while. So thanks for jumping in on this wild, almost 3-hour recording. I didn't even look at the time. Jesus.
I was.
Jamie's sleeping.
I was looking.
But if you're always up to stuff. This is recorded a little bit earlier, so this is going out opening day. Is there anything in particular you got like your sights set on at this moment?
Oh, a lot. Well, we have a new merch line already if you're listening now. So go check that out for the season. Jess, there's something on TikTok that's going to be pretty big this year that we're going to commit a lot of time to. And I think you're going to see everyone on this show maybe potentially at some point.
It'll be dropping a couple days after this episode, and you'll see a couple people from here on there.
Okay, so what are we doing? Come on.
Okay, well, the HHN35 games are coming to TikTok this year. A little reality spin-off series. That's all I'll give you for now, but
I love a game.
We're going to spoof 5 different reality shows during HHN. So
that's all Jess had to tell me to have me buy in.
I love a game.
I was like, reality show ripping it off?
Competition.
Yeah, I'm in.
We're all competitive here. Come on.
Yes, yeah. I'm in. And then, of course, our friends from the Catacombs of Halloween Horror Nights, Matt and Hunter, thank you so much for coming out of the grave and bestowing your presence amongst us. This is a classic Catacombs episode that, like I said at the top, selfishly, I just wanted to be a part of this recording again. And if it wasn't going to happen, I wanted to find a way to please the people. So thank you for paving the path that we all get to walk down.
Well, thanks for having us again.
Yeah, I mean, full credit again. I am nothing without you all, and especially without Matt. So, Matt, thanks again for kicking off this whole HHN podcast thing. Wouldn't have done it without you. And it was fun to revisit this format through you, Nick. You did a great job hosting. And the only thing we didn't rate on the that I think is essential, we did not provide rankings for the new Instagram influencer storyteller. And I really wanted to know everybody's thoughts on the glamified, yesified storyteller, because one redesign was not enough for some reason. I don't know.
You look good.
Unaware
Look, there's no commentary. I just want to know why. But anyways, you can, the Catacombs of Halloween Horror Nights will show up when we want. I don't know if Matt and I are going to do our own individual hype episode. I will on GGH if he doesn't want to. Otherwise, we'll be on Catacombs doing that. So you can find that at Grim Grinning Hosts. I'm pretty much offline, but if you want to join me and Seamus on Fortnite, you can shoot us a DM and we'll pop a gritty on your dead ass. See you guys. Happy haunt season.
In that vein, it's worth mentioning there might not be any new Catacombs for a while, but the old ones aren't going to go anywhere. So they're always there to find. So
they're always
directly
there.
at newsas.com or any podcast feed should have them by now. The damn thing's been out there for over a decade.
Yeah, if you somehow stumbled into Fear and Beer and you maybe you're in the newer world of podcasting, check out Catacombs of Halloween Horror Nights, because the history episodes, like Matt said, are all there. They're staying there. And if you do want to get a deeper appreciation for some of the history, I know I reference it a lot as well. So that finally wraps us up. I don't want to hold everybody here that much longer. So we typically do our sign off. There's 9 of us. We're not even going to attempt it. Okay. So until... Thank you for listening to another episode of Fear and Beer, a Halloween Horror Nights podcast. If you like what you heard, don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on whatever streaming platform you are listening to us on.
You can find us on all of our socials at Fear and Beer Pod.